had my grandson for 9 months. 2 years old.
Already?
No.
I don't know if he's.
They just left about a week ago, so now I'm trying to get I had to like hustle and get my house back in Gmail, so I did it. And it was so stressful.
His Gmail.
The invite is in his Gmail, yes.
Yeah, there's but I was going to
I think.
back and I have a and I couldn't stop it. So he emailed like most of the at 2.
Yeah.
Kind of.
So it's
Kind of like,
I don't. Just look up.
I mean, no wanted to and his construction trucks. That's his thing.
On the YouTube.
Trash planets. Those are his 2.
Just this. What's the title?
I understand.
So that'll buy you what?
I've been
A
around
minute,
good and bad.
5 minutes. Kind
And
of like our I kind
Yeah.
of do that to her.
because it's
sometimes.
tricky, you know.
Yeah, so
This
that's
human
what I'm doing.
Do you want to
People
share the PowerPoint?
Australia in July for a
Oh. Some conversation at my house.
Our last night about 10 o'clock.
Which a lot of people don't take. There's fraud on that one. They're pretty good. They're aggressive. They'll whack it in
Last night.
District card information.
So then you-
They're like,
So then when you just come out,
reader.
you know, 50%, right?
And these guys are gonna be here next week, so
And all this coming.
it should happen sometime next week.
We hope you don't think, oh, a little bit.
Guaranteed.
Yeah.
I know the China.
No, I got once. I went to a game
I mean, I'm calling you.
years ago in LA, so I guess it was that thing that's on top. I used it, drained out
You know,
my checking account, which at that time was connected to overdraft to my savings account. Oh no, so they drained out, like, at that point, I had like, nothing. I was like, Yeah, it was
So-
a good card.
There's a lot of authorities.
It
A
got
lot
me.
of authorities.
So ever since then, everything's like,
She's telling you, we're here. Southwest from Hilo to Honolulu. That's the longest flight in this state.
yeah,
I say it's too short, they don't serve. Yeah, train.
it's too much.
Yeah.
Too much.
Doesn't
Anyway.
to say that this is. And what you're risking is you're risking this. You're on the same level.
The dust barriers are still up.
You discredit.
Yeah.
Discredit.
Still, this is good. I have to some good space.
We're getting inside.
Nobody's monitoring this.
Yes, how are you doing? I'm sorry, I had my back.
No. This is what I, just as much as. You're missing this.
Communities together, I like to think.
Yeah, I think.
We are gonna tell you.
I'll just put DRC.
It's a lot of concern.
You know, yeah.
I said,
Oh, yeah. Yes, they don't serve beverages.
I got someone got to take my finger off.
Oh, man.
everything, good to see you.
I say told you.
It was good. Long flight, but it was.
Two of the commands are.
So like, we have, that's our state partnership nation. Comes in, I got invited to retirement.
I just had that there.
Or not, make sure you bring it up.
No, I'm not gonna say anything that might council member. It's like. We'll take care of that. I just have some concerns.
That's really interesting. Yeah, we don't have. I don't even know if we're working on what we would call contingency plan.
What kind of contingency plans can you come up with?
Right? So it's a lot of assumptions and projection.
So mine's going to be.
The food alone is
Going on.
Authentic, yeah.
It's been interesting.
As of after.
A lot of responsibility.
I'm still lying.
Can be coming onto this state.
Yeah, this is the mother.
I don't think, hopefully we're not eliminating preparedness and.
What is it? Get rid of.
I should, this is way over my pay grade, but my hope is that it's just a transfer of control and authority. You know, it's going to rest of everybody else. I'm not sure. The focus of what's going to be team or not. The Fed putting on all their own is going to have to stay with the.
Because somebody has to manage.
Well, one of the things that, you know, because someone's also managing the security. Generalize, not just, I think be more focused on respond.
We could, just not a state partnership nation. Normally it's a nation. Yeah, sprinkle all this different.
We can easily
Doesn't have to be military. Come in.
So it doesn't change though, for me, particularly just because there's still the need, there's still the need in the community. Happening at the top. So I take kind of comfort in that.
Brother's gonna say.
Materials you guys have.
Depending, so a general preparedness fair have a folder with just packets of information. I'm gonna share today programs that we actually have in our departments. It's a combination of things that we're project partners, community resilient.
Even just remember, we like,
In the case of an activation of business.
once I retire, just permanent group.
Task Force for Volunteer Donations Management. So I'm going to talk today about all of that, all kind of just just an overview, and then providing information in specific areas that are needed, like we supply, what we provide their communities, whether it be intervention, education, training, and all kinds of
I have
exercise.
an appointment for that.
Well, they called me and told me, oh, your physician referred you.
Mission up, like, then it'll go off.
But the fact that I remember
He says,
It's crazy.
like if I do this, it feels like it's pressure. Like it's not like anything else I got it all.
Weird, sleepy fingers.
You see that all month long. I mean, last year we did over 50. This year we're projecting over 50 to 55 events. That doesn't include the individual presentations that we do as well. So, for example, this past weekend,
My settings are off.
all of us were at we covered 3 fairs. Right now.
Yeah.
just every day. He's one for water, just every day, like, I mean,
Gene Susan
Diamond, it used to be the J.
putting together some event that we're going to. Hey, she got to identify a date, so everything was on that email. And so we're open, like that's what we're saying, right? We're willing to come out and do these things.
They went all over. So he either takes his boat or he jumps on with, always somebody that they.
So she provided, in the email, she provided some of the partners that she's like connected with.
So he was.
And really with Jean, it's a part of our HR program. She was, I think Elena was already a certified regional form.
It's hard to do.
Yeah.
You get there.
Okay, I'll talk about that tonight. So, she was originally the lead. And of course, being a norm, she was. Yeah, so she's really tying the communities together. And from what I understand from Jean is that she works closely with LJ. So perfect. Like we're not trying to get her stuff this in. We're just working. Bring us in. And
It's more, right, it's more resources.
absolutely.
So it's resources.
Yeah. It's one of the things that we're selling to first time.
Hey guys, is it alright with my writer? So that it picks up
Are we
Testing,
singing? Are we
testing.
singing? Or
song contest.
It's like karaoke.
All right. Been up this meeting, Josh. Yeah, so I mean, we continue. Yeah, we're definitely to come out there and yeah. Yep. Without a card.
I know. You bet.
I'll get you on today. Oh, no, I do. Oh, here you go. Ooh. You know, I just came back from Taiwan and I gave it away.
Oh, you did?
Yes, we went to Taiwan.
How'd you like it?
You know, it was awesome. A little intense. I mean, they're not messing around.
No.
I mean, we're not messing around too, but they're like prepared, like right now, right?
They're afraid of it.
Yeah. So it's very interesting. Yeah. So we went there and sort of we're building partnerships with Taiwan.
Oh,
Some
good.
of our team is going to the Philippines with Americans. So in the,
Okay.
but yeah, it was really great. It was really awesome.
Well, some of my friends are from in Taiwan.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
What
I
part?
used to be at the Army War College, so my friends were all in the military, so they were in
Oh, okay.
generals, lieutenant generals.
Wow, that's awesome. We met with the Ministry of Interior. We met with I can't remember the acronym, but their Reserve Command and the NFA or the National Fire Agency, which takes on emergency management. So really it was to share what we're doing. You know, I presented outreach and what we're doing, but we got to tour one of their resilient communities. And you know, Taiwan, I mean, Taipei was the mix of new and old. It was amazing. Like you have this.
How do they handle all of their earthquakes?
Well, that's sort of part of the conversation. You know, the evacuation routes and the shelters that they have. It's all. I mean, it's all there. But they do what the community we met with. They put on an annual evacuation drill, right? And they call them the townships. They call them. But their question really is what they're trying to find from us is how we work with the National Guard with the state. No problem. Good morning, Elton.
Who do you want me to sign for? Should I sign for him? I sign for John.
Only if it's pretty, Miss Ross.
Thank you.
Yeah, just on.
Never know how I'm supposed to sign this.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm good, Amber. How are you? I really appreciate that. That's it. On a fallen. That's awesome.
Nice, right?
Yeah, very awesome. Hey, Mona.
Hi.
Coming to a town near you soon for the fair.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. And there's another thing I wanted to talk to you about.
Okay.
Do you know Joe Watt?
From Key Project?
Yeah.
Yeah. We met with Joe. Yeah.
Is he like your groups you're working with?
Meeting after meeting after meeting. I just left your brother actually, so we were in a staff meeting.
Yeah, so we went to Key Project last year.
Yeah.
And then we also talked with Joe at the
I was prepared to
Polo
go.
Symposium. They have a lot of other things going on though.
Because then even
Gotta be a secure facility.
Identifying yet how we can start working.
We'll step off
Then it-
vacation.
So I had a meeting with him
Like paper
like
suits,
2-3 days ago.
Yeah, they want
To introduce me to,
Gene Souza.
that they're doing.
And what?
So she was supposed to
Mentioned that he, that
Sure.
what you just said, there's not a lot of communication yet or something like that. So I was wondering, find a way
And
to incorporate.
prepared the program at Harvard.
Yeah, so here's the thing. So
Yeah,
Why they showed it.
yeah,
if they want to
There's a lot
post stuff, they have to send it
back
to
and
us.
forth communication going on there.
yeah.
So I'm talking
I
with
just wanted to talk to John.
seeing where he supports that.
I'm gonna talk to this guy. Pretty
Yeah.
much.
But here's what I do. So I do health check. So council like
Yeah.
initially they started with a lot of that's another thing, talking about that. So can't without in lectures. So I mentioned to the president, as far as HR, it's interesting. And we keep it. That's it. That's one of the reasons, two daughters, different components to
That's what sets happening. They're ready to roll. The other ones are in their thinking phases. They're,
So I had the conversation with him yesterday, so I'm gonna get some follow.
Oh, no.
So when we coming on to host
Kelly.
yeah, June.
June?
So
Sit rep.
I Paula hasn't really been.
One of our staff, Scott. They've been, I put them in leadership.
No, it has been, but because of all these people, we've been there.
Trying to get up.
Until we went,
She's
well, you were
doing a sit rep.
started,
She pulled herself from the class.
until we met.
I love it.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, it's like
sort of help push this.
stay.
Put our eyes.
Oh, did you have to start all over again?
Yeah,
Start out?
once you come,
So
you miss anything, then you.
based on that, that's why we're not looking at saying.
Of course.
Okay,
So
that's good
we will
news.
talk that. Yeah. So let me follow up with him.
Mayor just held a like town in
Not, well,
here
try it.
and honored her work.
Right?
Little
And she's
only 2 acres.
One of them.
You know what?
from yeah, so Dottie, she's driven. Dottie.
Well, I think even when we went out, we did a little Haima presentation. That's not how I feel.
Yeah.
And just the group itself. That was community representative. All what's going on.
Probably
Sort of
become
looking
pretty
for this very common goal.
Yeah, how was together?
Average.
Going back to Joe, Joe himself, he seems like he's young and very also driven, maybe slightly outspoken personality. Like
Once last week.
after our meeting, he's talked so much. Okay, he talks so.
Yeah, it's kind of when we
You know
experience
what?
that too, yeah.
He said, you know, I hope we have, strong relationships. And I said something to the fact that if you can follow through with everything that you just said,
Yes.
then we will have. But
No.
let's see what your follow through is like. He left me feeling encouraged, but I understand what you're saying. But where possible, if you can work, reach out, try to attempt to
Trying to
make a stronger relationship with. I think he is
Although
moving
on
the
my first
needle
week.
Yeah,
over
yeah.
in his area.
Because we went out to Jimmy's, the Rainbow,
I was
and
with you guys.
Joe kind of popped in.
Yeah.
And so he did follow up.
Seems
It's
like
just,
week
I think,
2 already.
things settled a little bit.
Okay.
But I think you're right. Let's just take it back.
Yeah, that's what
Get
we talked
answer
about.
everything.
Yeah.
It's going, where you post knowledge. I don't think so.
Yeah.
Definitely no. I think they're definitely doing that in their
Yeah.
the surrounding area.
Well,
Yeah, I think so too. So I want to encourage it, If it were up to me, I would like to grow that guy.
Josh,
I
are we
want
being
him
recorded right
with
now?
Yes, but,
Yes, we're being recorded right now. Yep.
it's just because we have to film it live on YouTube.
Get up at chapter. Can you hear me?
Hasn't even started yet. though.
Sky and Sarah. Sky is
Here,
fun.
technically, public it started at 2:30. I guess we're still waiting for someone.
All right, so
If you want, we'll just.
more to call. See where you guys are at. Based on the last meeting.
No.
Check with Olivera.
You wanna
Olivera,
make sure
are you there?
we stay,
Can express something.
have a lot of good goals.
And I agree.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Not a problem at all.
Mr. Olivera, are you available?
Although they're,
That's what I'm trying to get.
their emphasis is,
Just to recognize.
people from across the world, so
Someone can't
the
hear.
employees were.
The teams.
And then what is it?
Okay, so are we gonna hear the Olivera talk?
Why is this feeling compared to that?
You there?
I finally meet you, Randy Collins.
Yeah.
Pleasure.
So I see you went to SC.
We've already tested.
Mr. Olivera, are you there?
I put this on this morning and I thought, nobody's really gonna put it together.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Well, and I went.
Okay.
Like,
All right, thank you.
wearing the SE colors.
Hey, sir.
I just thought, oh, well, so.
He's good. You can hear.
It's just a regular.
No, actually, here's that.
Well, like, what do you mean? I mean, I was there. Dottie and Evelyn.
Hey, Yarrow.
First day.
Okay, I think we got everybody here that will be attending.
She's hiding. She got stuff to do.
Yeah, we're good.
No, just him.
No, sir.
Just the same. Okay, so we can go around the room and just introduce yourself and where you're from.
Ethan Oki, Haima, Special Projects.
Hello, everybody. John Vieira, Haima, Community Outreach.
Glenda Stroyford, HACEM member from Kauai.
Aloha, Elton Lucio, Emergency Management Administrator.
Aloha, Lisa Vares, HACEM member from Maui.
My name is Makailo Hewitt, my administrator.
James Browse, Administrator, Haima.
Steve Logan, I'm the director of Haima.
Frankie Hunt, the agency.
Aloha, Thomas Mag, Civil Defense Administrator.
Aloha, Randy Collins, the very brand new Director of Emergency Management.
And Mona Curry representing Oahu.
I'm Joshua Kawiwi. I am currently IT analyst for Haima.
Yui Geyer, IT specialist of Haima.
Good morning, Amber Ramirez, Administrative Support. Okay.
All right, that's who we got in the room.
Okay, hey, thanks, Chief. Yes, I am in the room. For everybody who hasn't met me, which I think is maybe 1% on this side of the room, I took over as the adjutant general on 1 October upon the retirement of Major General Mara. And I'll just lay out maybe a couple of things. From the National Guard perspective, we run a hurricane preparedness exercise every year called the Hurricane Healing. You're very familiar with it. We just got word yesterday that we were approved to execute a more advanced exercise called Vigilant Guard. It'll be done in 2027. So the last time we did this, for those of you who were around, was in 2015. And it encompasses a major catastrophic event, which will look a lot like either 1 or 2 hurricanes. And then all the ancillary events that brings in. It enables us to bring in things like the CST or the CERT key or a higher level headquarters for safety like a HERF from states on the mainland, and we can put that structure into each of the counties. And so we have about 2 years to develop it out and put it out. But what I wanna introduce to you folks, and maybe you can convey it to your county mayors, that we want to be able to enable you to develop your own training objectives and the building and the exercise for the outcomes that you're looking for. We found it very productive in 2015. We were able to define some of our plans, and we think that from the military perspective, as we tier up, be able to support whatever the event might be, it was a derivative of that 2015 exercise. So we want to kind of recreate that. In 2026, I think we're going to move Makani Tahiti to coincide with the HUREX exercise with both IndoPACOM and USERPAC, which affords us the ability to get after some of the products that they produce. And I think it's going to be an April. That's how we. Okay, so we're going to talk about that. So it's kind of a crawl, walk, run approach to get us to 2027. And what I was talking to Randy about was, it'll happen at about a time when either the next governor or Governor Green, if he in fact runs and gets reelected, at an early part of his second term or the term of the new governor, however that all works out. So it affords all the ARs and factories will afford that governor the opportunity to refine what we have to work on for those years. So the state can be even more prepared, more resilient, and maybe get after some of the mitigation stuff that will then support the counties even better than it is right now. So kind of exciting, hot off the press. I just found out about this thing. And we're going to do that in a regional construct. It's going to incorporate the territory reform at the same time. So cool thing to do. Other than that, I'll turn it back to the Administrator Barrows.
Right, sir. Thank you. Chief, you got additional opening remarks? Okay. So go on to the minutes. Everybody has a minutes in front of you from our last meeting. I think she sent it out for your review. If no objections, I'd like to get it approved so Chief Oliver and I can sign it and post it.
I move to approve minutes.
Second.
Okay. All in favor of approving the minutes? Say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right. Hey, Chief, so the November 7th minutes were approved. We'll process to get it signed. So we'll move to council members' reports and updates. Move to Maui.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. We've got some kind of exciting time for Maui and with our the expansion of NEMA. I'm sure Amos has a lot to update you all on, but there's a few noted aspects that they've been coming up with and developing that I thought was definitely worth note. The first one, I'll tell you I was going to discuss this one, is the Genesis Protect. It's a app on the phone for evacuations and for notification of any emergencies nearby. I've got it on my phone, and it's I hope I don't have to use it, but if needed, I really like how the one that they've chosen to use. You can keep track of multiple locations, just like Chief was saying. You know, you've got kids in school and spouses at work, and you can keep track of the evacuation and the exactly during the emergency that the specific locations are. So that's something that's really kind of exciting for Maui in general. And that just came online May 1st. I'm sure I'll tell you some more about that. Another couple of interesting developments. Chief Amos has come up with ComNet, or Community Network, which is identifying community members of substance, of lots of networking, lots of connections within the community themselves, and someone who can be relied upon to respond during even a small scale emergency of tropical storm, regional flooding, and plug directly into a WhatsApp, so that not only is Chief getting, of course, all the meteorological updates and the news updates, but also boots on the ground of the communities that is going through it. So you're not getting 60 or 80 texts from total strangers, or having to rely on a Facebook page that is telling you, what flooding is. It's got reliable, resourceful community members that have agreed to respond during small-scale emergencies, and can really keep awareness much more micro level. So that can really help expand both the response and then also to let it know when things have finally settled back down again. So ComNet is a great idea and very useful. The next one is something very similar to what Chief Oliveira was talking about, which is the business network. We're also starting to develop something just like that. And this is kind of growing from and developing what we went through after the August 8th fire, with the absolute outpouring of the local small businesses and the large businesses. That everybody came out and helped out, but coordination of those resources, and on a clerical level, repayment of those resources. Were those resources requested? How much was requested? How are you going to invoice? Are you an approved vendor? All of that just ends up taking up so much time, and these small businesses, a lot of the time, the funds that they've already invested into the community, into the emergency within the community, if they're not repaid, that can cripple a business. So not only would the business network identify small and large businesses that are willing to during an emergency, but also help coordinate those resources themselves, so that we don't get overloaded with water, but absolutely no generators. And then the recovery, during recovery, being able to make sure that our businesses are repaid for their generators. Very important. So I'm looking forward to that, and I'm happy to be part of that with them. So I think that's going to develop into something really valuable. And then the last thing I wanted to bring up is personal pet project, which is wildfire fuels risk reduction, the vegetation management, overgrown vegetation, that kind of stuff. It's finally starting to catch on, and people are starting to really pay attention to the risk that their overgrown vegetation can cause and fuels during high winds and red flag warnings. And I mention it because both the state and the county are now also starting to step up and take it very seriously as well. Forestry and Wildlife, the DLNR, is starting to clear high-risk areas of old growth, Kiave and Milo and that kind of thing, places that are high risk not only because of the vegetation and how dry it's been, but also the prevalence of vagrant camps. So DOFA is already starting to clear dozens of acres. DOBAR, Department of Boating and Ocean Recreation, starting to take the edges of their harbors very seriously, which I really appreciate that as well. And MFD, I believe, just received it's in the process of receiving or just received a grant for $2.7 million for wildfire fuels mitigation. And so that's going to be really, really helpful in reducing the risk of another conflagration like we. So all great things. I'm really, really pleased with all the advancement that AMOS has brought to MEMA, and the community response during an emergency is only as good as the community paying attention during non-emergency type things. So they've been doing a lot of community outreach, preparedness expos, at festivals and fairs, and HECO outreach activities, social media. So it's been a excellent. I always got some exciting stuff on the way. That's all I've got.
Thank you. Wow.
I want to start off by welcoming Randy here, and we're really excited that you're here. I have a friend who's in Saudi Arabia, Reggie Friedman.
Oh, yeah.
And I've been talking to him about you, and he's been giving me such great feedback that you're considered the emergency management guru. And he considers you that. So I thought, wow, that's great. He was formerly the fire chief of Oakland and some other things in California. So I've been really talking you up to everybody who is asking. So welcome.
Thank you.
I want to just talk a little bit about the hub project out in Haula. My pet project, of course, I live in that community, so that's probably why. That huge project, which I've been sharing with you guys for the last couple of years, we're subject to the federal funding that are happening now, probably impacting all of you, at least indirectly or directly. I just wanted to give you a little update there. The project is still important to us, even though we're having these challenges. We're in the final design phase of the project. That should be done by the end of the year. We're going to start focusing on pulling permits for 2026. And I should probably just give you a reminder. It's a resilience project because the area that I represent, the Kolaloa area, there are no structures there where people can actually shelter. So the whole point is to provide resiliency on that side of the island where there's absolutely none. So we're going to start focusing on pulling those permits 2026. I'll share those designs with you at some point so you know what I'm talking about. We're looking at some infrastructure components in 2027. About the funding, because of the federal funding chaos we're in now, a lot of the project will be on pause. But what's still on the table is the 2024 earmark of HUD funds. Thank you to Senators Hirano and Schatz, very big supporters of the project. 5.4 million, we believe we're still going to be receiving. We've been working hard to set ourselves up to get that money. That's going to provide for a scaled down version of the project where we're going to start working on the agricultural components like tree removal and stuff like that. And we're also going to build a hale. So we're shifting a little bit. The hale is not going to be, resilient, but it'll provide some other community resources that we don't have spaces for now. What got chopped for us is the earmarks for 2025 and 26. And we already, Schatz has already said that probably won't be getting those. We submitted a grant just recently, an EPA grant that kind of went into a black hole. So we're not hopeful there. The brick options that we were looking at, as you know, we had a TA for brick. So if we had submitted, it would have been likely that we would have, been funded if we had partnered with you. That's kind of paused, or we're waiting to see if it gets renamed, as we discussed earlier, and see what's going to happen there. So just to kind of share with you, Kavika, G70 is kind of an engineering firm here on the island, and they're one of our partners. Kavika is going to be the president, so it's a big deal for him. But this article came out in the paper today, Aloha State Daily, and he mentions our project. So if you want to just take a look at the highlighted yellow, if not, just keep it moving. So the project is still, it's still going to be moving, but unfortunately, it's just on a little pause for obvious reasons. In other news, I talked to you about Joe Watt and the Key Project and his Castle Foundation kind of support. And I'm bringing it up now because I talked to him the other day about using his funding sources to develop a business business resiliency training for the businesses on our side. So it seemed relevant. That's why I'm bringing it up now. So we're going to start working on, helping our businesses on our side become more resilient so that they can stay open and not shut and go away and lose. We know what happens when they do that. So that's all I have to report. Any questions?
Thank you.
Yes. Well, every time we've come here, it seems like we have an event. So we were at the airport, and Elton got a call that we have a wildfire going on in Kokay. The last time we had two times before this, when we had that wildfire in Hanapepe, and we had a helicopter crash. So keys are ready in my bag if we need to leave immediately, but it appears that it's in relatively good shape. And we've got a very good staff, very small, but a very good staff. And you were talking about earlier business and community outreaches. Well, Elton has done an extraordinary job in including everyone every time we have a full activation. So we don't have quite those problems. We do have a problem, however, when we found out when we had that wildfire in Hanapepe, that people are going to get cut off because we only have that one road around the island. And so for that fire, what we found was that we had lots of people working in PMRF because it was just about closing time. Or I think it started about 12:30 in the afternoon, and then it just continued on. But we had people who were caught on the west side of Kauai, had children on the other side of Kauai, and they were not able to get across. We had hospital workers who could not come to the West Side Hospital and vice versa. And that became a big problem. So I think the last time that we were here, I mentioned that although we can have agreements with individual private landholders to get access through their lots, it might be more effective if we could have a statewide agreement. And I'm not sure where that is, but that would be useful if we could get something on that. Because unfortunately, and I hate to say this, it's going to happen again, not because we want it to happen, but because I think climate issues are really beginning to affect Kauai, and where the west side was always dry. Now it appears that Kokei, which is in the mountains, and that's the wettest spot on Kauai, seems to also be having less rainfall and getting a more this spring. We've had a lot more rainfall. It appears on the east side and north, but not even in Kalaheo. We didn't have very much. So the patterns are changing, and although we have microclimates, getting around the island is going to be much more difficult. So if we can come up with a way that we can have an agreement that everybody can sign, or that you can sign as needed, that for liability or for anything else on a statewide basis, that might make it easier for landowners to allow access through their Cane Hall roads and other access areas. But I have to admit, though, that on Kauai, we have really good support from the community, from businesses, and from the county. The county has, I think, approved of our budget, or the budget. And they've also funded the Reserve Corps. So we've got a little bit of depth, but it's not the kind of depth that you want. You want more depth in your staffing. And we're looking at filling up some of those positions. I think we've got an interview this week. Is that correct? But I'm not going to get very much into that, but I just want to tell you that we have some concerns on Kauai, and I think that's on all the islands. It's about, if we lose FEMA funds and we're getting into hurricanes, what does that do for us, or what does that do in terms of support? And also in the long term, what are we looking at, and how are we anticipating either mitigating it or coming up with alternate solutions to that? Kauai has gone through some serious catastrophic hurricanes, not recently, but I think Iniki was the last one, and that's the last one we have for a while. But that is a concern, because we do have only that one road around the island, and it is on the shoreline. So to get from Kekaha, which is also on the shore, to a shelter, which would be in Kamakani, you'd have to go through Kekaha, Waimea, and those are all at sea level, and that becomes a problem. And that's why the alternate routes can be really dangerous. And Elton tells me also that some of the fire that we have today was probably from an encampment. I don't know how other counties are taking care of homeless encampments, and because they do need fire, they do need shelter, and I'm not sure that we have the facilities or the resources to support it. And on that bright note, thank you very much.
Glenda, I just add that last night I was in a meeting about alternate roads and Cane Hall. And it was suggested that we try to get DOT to fund the feasibility study. Maybe you should start looking at that too.
Well, the question becomes one, if it's in all the islands, should that come from any particular island, or should it come from Haima, HACEM as a group? And if we go in as a group, we might have more of an impact. And if it's HACEM that has to, or that should be spearheading this, then we can do it. We'll do that.
Yeah.
But it's just, yeah, because the Cane Hall roads that we have right now, I think, first of all, they're blocked off either by large boulders or by chains. And even if you got onto those roads, they have not been kept up. So unless you have a 4-wheel drive, and even then, I'm not sure what you would find. So we just need to find some kind of alternate.
And some of them are privately owned now.
They all
yeah, but
on Kauai, they're all privately owned.
Yeah, so I think it is something really important that we need to start looking at.
And I know this comes at a bad time because of all the funding cuts and stuff, but I don't know how to best do it. Probably do it with community efforts, but On Kauai, we probably could do that as a community effort just because we're such a small community. But if it's a statewide problem, maybe we should look at it as more of a statewide issue.
Thoughts from the county administrator?
So, my county uses, service one. It allows, or authorizes the chief of police to utilize any private property for evacuation.
What was that one again?
I think it's 135. Yeah, so it relieves the owner of liability, also the government as well. So you got a block, chain up road, but the road is still viable. Cut that chain and use it under that statute.
I don't know that we know how viable that is because I don't know what the situation of the words are because it's
so
on private property.
It's just an option.
Yeah, thank you.
You got the same situation. Paved roads is obsolete, private property. Yeah. We're in the same problem. Said 60% of the communities of Hawaii Island, they have one way in, one way out. They're all screaming for out stuff like that. We actually are just formulating a traffic study for Waikoloa Village, which is a high-five rural community. We put in one evacuation route for them, but the community is still growing. We need an actually permanent road for them. That's kind of stuff like that. That's being funded by a federal grant. Disaster.
What Kauai has also found in the past, we lost a suit. There were some developments and we were looking for different ways to access it, to make the access roads wider or for some of the infrastructure costs to be borne by the developer. Well, it turns out that got sued and the developer is only responsible for whatever's on their property. And so if they help with anything with the infrastructure and the county roads or anything like that, that's up to them. It's sort of voluntary. It's not something that can be put into the permit. So that's another part of this puzzle.
One of the things, or what we're doing in Hawaii in general is, so we did procure a larger AI traffic model software. Evacuations. The idea is to model the entire county and identify those bottlenecks, those gaps in those transportation arteries, and prioritize based on where the threat. Provide that to administration. That's one analysis we're doing. We also have the largest AI offering to at a super reduced rate to do that study for us. And so we're exploring that option where software, well, obviously they would have way more experience than you would to do analysis, and the work might be tremendous, as we just said, procured largest AI. But so there's just two efforts there with largest AI technology that we have procured to try and identify what our overall evacuation piece looks like and what we have to prioritize based on what that analysis. Did also submit an application for the tech grant to also utilize additional technology, traffic AI types of technology. NEC is one of those partners that will further use information and share information with our largest AI analysis and come up with better understanding of evacuation routes altogether for Maui. Hopefully that
happens within the next year. My goal, and then have a better understanding of what that actually means. Should do about it. Related to evacuation roads. We can model with the use of game hall routes now. Our communication with police is that whatever road is passable, they'll take down, they'll open gates and chains and cut all those things away. They'll drive it first, and determine if it's safe and passable. So we haven't had any concern with access to those private properties and use of those roads. There are older subdivisions, one way in, one way out. We have all those things, but nobody really has a scope of the entire county, which is why we're excited about this analysis and assessment with the legislative item. Help us point us in the right direction on, okay, this is our situation, how do we prioritize that, what are the costs to this, that. That's what we're trying to do.
Thank you.
I think we have good relationships and contact information with all the major landowners. And in most cases, police, fire, sometimes EMS already has keys in advance. As you guys saw with the 100 Kamakani fires and some recent ones on the west side, Robinson, the EL owners, they're responding just as quickly as our people, and they're opening gates and providing access. Difficult, so many different owners all over the island, tabs on all, and yeah, we don't have something in 127A that grants us that access, like 127A18, the mitigation of hazardous situation, that's only for one. Rock fall, tree fall, stream clearing, and then you get into private property, but that's a state, not a county state. So one of the biggest challenges is Chief Amos was saying, the condition of the road. So many of ours are so badly potholed, not passable, wouldn't be safe for passenger vehicles to go over. And with that, we've been getting asked by our county council, can't HEMA manage all of these roads? And like, whoa, like, and then even the county, how do we maintain? They have enough time maintaining county roads as is. So how do we maintain all the private ag, dirt and gravel roads? So, we have a project where we're trying to map it out using our GIS team, not software like you folks, but our GIS team using HACEM platform. And we try to prioritize routes, but then again, the funding to actually maintain. I'm not sure what can be done if we keep doing it island by island, county by county, or statewide.
Anything else from the HACEM member? Yeah.
We've got a bunch of projects we're working on. 40 plus of them, but working on a lot of plans. One is mass casualty. So trying to incorporate active shooter, plane crash, and stuff. Partners. Yeah. Big project. I think it's the biggest project that Hawaii County's undertaken. Building, total building. So that's on us. That is possibly could have catastrophic failure at any time. So that my team is fully staffed right now. Last person we brought on his app was my truck. Putting on the 15th. So we'll be totally locked in. We'll be our community liaison. Actually stationed on the Kona side, so we'll be the first staff on the Kona side. So it's kind of new for us. Kind of feeling out that east side separation. There's gonna be some hardship, but we got to run office on that side of the SY Civic Center. But he'll be our conduit to the west side. We always got to travel from Hilo to the west side. That's a whole big thing. Start sharing about the west side. Islands much big on the west side. So for us. Very active with the CERT. Basic training, leadership training, and stuff like that. Try to continuously keep them active. Build that resource. They support us in a lot of outreach to the communities. Past weekend, they help us support Boy Scouts of America. They're one of the key, and then to one of the farmers markets to prepare lectures down there. But CERT supports us throughout the whole island, all these different functions. They came up with a mechanism where incentivize CERT guys coming out. So they come out to these different functions, they gain points, which relieves them of some of the requirements in the refresher. Come out, meet certain thresholds. You don't have to go to one day of the refresher. Take you down to one day persuasion. Then got to the test. So give them a 7. Another big thing we got coming up in June, trying to really bolster our amateur radio system for redundancy. So we have an amateur radio summit in June. Bill Hansen, one of the administrators, officers, he's been going around the island trying to build camaraderie amongst all the factions of amateur radios. And those who know amateur radio realize how difficult that can be. It's interesting how they territorial they get, and so forth. So we're trying to bring them all in, let them know what we're emergency management as far as the system that we're keeping on. That'll be interesting. Daryl already is aware of what we do. We exercise it. There are a couple of hurricanes where the hubs report back to us in the situation. Just some of the projects that we're working on.
Molly?
So quickly, so we just had our strategic plan. Did a presentation for the executive team. Well, there was an opportunity for NEMA to really present perspective. Was it also in the past? And gotten a lot of support because we've been able to kind of speak big picture. So that is available. If you guys ever want to look at it, it's available on our NEMA page on our county website. We also did develop an integrated preparedness plan 2 years, 25 and 26. And that's available on the website as well. We've kind of used those 2 documents in communications with county council and administration, and it's worked really well. They're super supportive of what our efforts have been, simply because we can write it down on a piece of paper. We have a plan, we have actions already underway, and we've proven and demonstrated results in progress. So we're pretty stoked about those 2 documents. Staffing wise, we've been able, since I took over in 24, we've been able to expand from 9 to 25. FY26, they supported 3 additional positions. We this year. Circles. I think 28 is kind of our magic number. Um, we've also, within those 25 positions, there's a deputy administrator position that has been established. The administrator position has moved to EM7, my position, and then the deputy administrator is moving to EM5. All of the section chief positions are at EM3. All the reallocations are already in place. So we have 4 section chief positions already reallocated to SR26 or EM3. We do also have a GIS5 analyst full-time in NEMA. Will support a lot of our big projects. We also was supported in a funding for a 9-person reserve corps. And our team is growing by June 1st. We'll have 20 of the 22 filled. The last 2 is a finance chief and a public affairs officer is the last 2. And it's with the Department of Personnel Services related to, the appropriate classification that we're running. We also are jumping on a bill to allow retirees to come back to work in emergency management. Simply because it's a good group of people that we can call upon in their experience, not only working in emergency response, but also working in the county. So we missed the window this year to pursue that. The goal has been to be able to build out a system, process, procedure for MEMA to be able to transfer over to the next administrator. I plan to stay here long. I plan to stabilize, get everything good, and transferable to the next administrator. We want to be able to offer opportunities for good administrators. And so opening up through this bill give us an opportunity to look at more people that can fulfill that position. We do have an EOC. This is just some renderings you guys can take a look at. We spoke, we're going to move in there September 1st. It is my goal. I think we signed the last document, August 11th, and the rest of our furniture. Super cool spot. Super great opportunity, bigger space, better technology, way more functional. There's an opportunity to take a second floor, which would open up classroom space and viewing center with the police department, dormitories, all those things. We can get the second floor. I'm not winning that battle, but still fighting it. So hopefully we get the second floor. There's a 24 monitor video wall. Like Lisa said, Genesis Protect is underway. Began online May 1st. We did a huge information and education campaign prior to. I think we procured it in maybe November, October, November, somewhere around there. It took us a lot longer to get it all understood and all the partners prepared. And so we finally launched it May 1st, had a press conference, many outreach activities, social media, and presentations at the community meetings as well. For the most part, the community is happy. And it gives us an opportunity to message quick, gives us an opportunity to share information in real time, gives us an opportunity to quell the angst of our communities as they get to look at a public facing page and see that what areas are impacted and receive the messages quicker than we have been able to give in the past. So we're excited about that. Magis AI, I mentioned earlier, is a traffic modeling software that we're already using. So to refine our zones in Genesis Protect, we also modeled every zone. Every one of our zones evacuate with under 30 minutes. Some of them evacuate within in 16 minutes, which includes the behavior time in that as well. So we're able to refine our zones even further after Genesis Protect algorithm ran through using our largest AI piece. We expect to use our largest AI software in our big special events, have evacuation plans for like Fair, the MIT, events that come into our county, really understand what that like and what evacuation actually is in largest AI. We have an information and education team of 4 persons, which we never had one person before. We would count on our county comms communication team out of the mayor's office to do any kind of PIO stuff. And education pieces were done with the staff specialist in NEMA. Now we have 4 persons specifically assigned to information and education, which money is money. We have tremendous amounts of work and energy going to a video series, a learning video, given preparedness video, short video, as well as all the outreach activities, the management of social media, all of our flyers, all of our outreach efforts. Just tremendous that we've never had before. And it's just making a really, really huge impact. So we did have an expo, preparedness expo on April 12th, East Maui Community, April 26th, Molokai Sport for this Saturday. Well, not a Pineapple Festival on July 5th. And many other requests meetings-wise, different partners, presenting at every activity, event that is requested of us, which is a ton. So we have one position still to fill in that section, which is the public affairs officer. And we do have a full-time search coordinator now. And I just want to thank Talmadge for receiving Cherish. And she was super stoked about our opportunity with your people. So I really appreciate it. So one of the things that is on the table, we're having conversations with one tomorrow as well, it's related to land management. And when you talk about wildfire, fuels, risk reduction, situations with land management countywide that affect the wildlife interface and become still a wildfire risk that we don't really address in any kind of strategic way. And so the conversation keeps coming up. Well, decide, determine, identify a function. That function we know that we need because there's so many things that are caused because we don't have a land management function out of a county. So that conversation is happening with the county now. Who takes that over? I'm not sure. We haven't determined that yet. It might fall on MEMA, at least the coordination side of it all. Obviously, I said, well, falls on MEMA, you're saying that you're authorizing and funding the effort. If that's what you're doing, then okay, we'll take it on. So that's just conversation. But we've been having a lot of conversations about it. The community is up in arms related to wildfire, fuels risk reduction. Us not really having a long-term strategic ongoing plan for it. So we're having good conversations. Hopefully, some solutions will come up soon. We have experts around us that do it all the time at the state level. Both of guys in Maui are brilliant. And so it's just about asking them for their experience and their input, which they offer it. They're super good friends of mine, and then following their lead. And so we'll see how that goes. That's kind of what we're doing. We have 23 emergency plan updates underway and development to be completed by December of 2025. We contracted Tetra Tech on it. It's going really well. Our our SEM and our COOP are two plans that SEM never existed and our COOP is outdated. So we're updating those things. Our hazard mitigation plan update is on the way. It's under public review right now. And then we expect to meet the timeline
Okay, for Kauai, since our last HACEM meeting in November, number of different things. I'll just hit some highlights. So, like with the other counties and Haimo, we had to go through our budget process with our annual county budget going through the mayor's review process and then county council. We still have final decision making next week where they added, but no big changes. Kima's budget. Although one of our strategies that we've done in the past, but we made sure that all of our grant funded positions at least have $1 in county funding. So that so if the federal side gets cut, we can at least temporarily throw county money at the position until we go in for a money bill and see other sources of funding for that. Unfortunately, my former right hand, Chelsea, is the finance director. So we had all the other county departments do the same. So now we'll have to compete with 50 other positions. Federal funds get cut for limited county dollars. They took something from our playbook, but that's great. That's good. Great for our county colleagues. We did have a multi-week deployment of Army Corps of Engineers personnel to Kauai doing potential failure mode analysis and semi-quantitative risk assessments. So PFMA SQUARA for our west side dams, levee systems. So Waimea and Hanabipi towns are protected by levees. We had terrible flooding back in the day, in the 1950s with Hurricane Hiki, which had the all United States tropical cyclone rainfall record until Harvey and Lane surpassed it. Lots of huge future capital projects on those levees. Our DoD Innovative Readiness Training Program partnership is continuing, and next week we start our kind of not well known because they're keeping it secret from most of the departments, cyber mission. So Department of Defense, IRT personnel will be coming in doing physical secure facility and secure network and system penetration testing. We got the get out of jail free card and identification issued by our chief of police, and they're bringing all these people, and we'll see what's going to happen. So that's going to be a 2-week mission starting Monday. We have the possibility for some follow-ups in other areas later this summer, but those are still in discussion with the IRT program partners. And those will likely be for follow-up best available refuge area, for shelter assessments that we missed or the data is missing. And then maybe some collaboration on wildland fire, but we'll see. That is still in the works. Our severe weather event, 2024 April flooding, projects have been proceeding, so much so that we work with Haima and Craig, and we let the governor's proclamation expire on that. So I think they're comfortable with that. On the telecom side, we continue to work on leveraging our technology, more of the FirstNet migration. So I was showing the people who are sitting around me, they can see what our EOC is seeing right now is a location of every fire radio on the fire and the transponder signature of the helicopter that's fighting the fire. So that gives us situational awareness even before the liaisons come to the EOC. So keep leveraging that. But those of you who are getting into FirstNet technology, you know that more than doubles the price of your regular radios. But it leverages both your radio system and cell towers. You can get coverage, and you have a smartphone on the back, and you can see where each person is. So for our responder safety, it's amazing, amazing technology. Other things that are going on, Amos will do way better than us. We have 5 reserve corps positions. How many you got? 9. So again, thank you in the infinite wisdom of prior generations of Haima tags and AGs. We mimic your reserve corps. So we have 5 positions so that we can activate these guys at a moment's notice to supplement our staff. But it's all trained people, credentialed in various positions in incident management team. Other things, we continue to develop our staff and our IMT. So we hosted a logistics section chief training and we opened it up to the other counties. And I think just about everyone said, Maui County, Talmadge, you said some, Honolulu. So we had a bunch come over. So that was pretty good. We just participated a few weeks ago in Lihui Airport multi-agency triax or whatever they call for their validation. And then last week, U.S. Coast Guard multi-agency search and rescue exercise. We're supposed to have a wildfire tabletop multi-agency tomorrow, but with the real fire, we'll see. Thank you to Haima for your support with hazard mitigation grant program applications. We're making progress with that. Okay. That's about it for things I want to.
I know that take a break. 11:52, waiting on the lunch. So take a 10-minute after break. Come back at 12. On the lunch. Right. Thank you.
I gotta
Close.
drinking to the stage and
To the individual firefighter.
Really amazing.
Cool. So what you
Our
guys?
staff members that
Yeah, FirstNet radios. It's called a Motorola Smart
get
Radio.
engaged in everything.
Command Central.
Oh,
It's
that's
the
awesome,
Motorola
yeah.
technology.
Okay.
When I log in, you can see where
I
each person is.
And that's October. Stands that.
So like with the Kamakani fire, when you're holding the line right at your houses, you can see
Yeah.
where they are.
Nah.
You can hear them
Sounds
talking,
good to me.
scanning.
So those radios are part of firefighters, that may or may not be part of any.
Yeah, so I
Echo.
can tell you right now,
Oh.
this is Station 3, Pack 3.
Okay. Oh,
Station
nice.
6, Pack 3.
Can you hear?
Rescue 3, Pack 1.
That's the one. See, back one.
Yeah.
That's the one.
So-
You want to know that that guy's on scene.
Yeah. So you can, in fact, we had one incident. One of the
And it's shooting.
PHE.
Like, oh. And you, I think the
You're on radio and you're.
best way to get that is
wondering, who is this?
manage your expectations.
Oh,
Which I think Saudi too, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Sneak away.
You gotta.
How you did at the beach?
Baffle
So that's,
things.
so that's.
FirstNet, if off the Motorola, we have a Motorola system.
But
I'm sure
you're still in that kind of phase.
whoever is your, I don't know, Ericsson or whatever brand you guys use. First, if you get
Time to check. Have you like your
Honolulu,
plan for that?
Honolulu.
I'm forming it. Yeah, I mean, not only is it, my honeymoon time, as you say, because it's funny that you say that. Jennifer,
Yeah, that's fine.
but also have the honeymoon time. We also
get this command central.
opportunity with federal government, the
Not everybody
potential elimination of
Yeah.
FEMA, the
needs multiple pressure or.
Yeah.
responsibility on.
Not everybody is convinced to use it, but we were,
Again, I think that
I thought we were like last to the game, but we were the first to adopt this technology.
Wow. That function
You know how
is
safe?
critical.
The guy goes down.
basically at 1982 staffing, kind of thing.
You can find the guy.
That's it,
Trying to
yeah.
use those three things to really, it's coming out budget time,
The radio never did catch before.
staff,
Right?
So that's my plan. And I'm really just also scratching my head. Bargaining. Getting like, can't do that because why don't do that or something. That got to do with Donald.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'm not familiar with that part.
Yeah.
Yeah, getting units on. I wasn't even. The this county is connected in that way. So that's news to me, but you have so many challenges. And then you see, like, here's a good example. You see Maui's new EOC, and you're like, wow, it's like this room. If you look at or even what they, I mean, you've seen the state EOC.
Yeah, I was there last week.
You know, that ceiling was yellow.
Oh, I just thought it was
It's not supposed to be yellow.
I thought it was just a bunch of asbestos that I was breathing in.
Yeah, no. It's from when they used to allow smoking.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay, you know, you go in there. But, yeah, so, how, you guys think about Got-To's bakery that has those, one like remote, so now they just got a staff who's still well, right up where they have the same conditions. And those are right on that side.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm on the side at 26 services. Just from, you know, 27 all of them.
What is that?
Came over as an intern with the National Park Service.
Considered the country. It has less
During college, they
has been the justice
mission in the airport to go straight up the top
from the county and the state
to touch the ocean, just straight up into the sky. And
pose that
she's management.
Eddie out tour. So you can kind of see what side. Because Honolulu is not everything on this island.
Right.
There are no other.
But really, it sounds.
There's so many other things that.
I walked trap lines and trapped and dispatched rats and cats and monkeys.
Oh,
that what? Oh God.
I feel like it should be consolidated. With some guidance pushed out instead of having to grow organically, which I think that kind of stuff happens.
That's great.
There's no leadership.
We're still losing permanently extinct native birds.
So with you, encouraging
that.
And
my company has been working up into the mission.
Sounds like,
Yes.
yeah. So,
If you,
before, I don't really know Jennifer too much. Just very quiet.
Like I'm going straight up the top.
Interested in stuff.
To the creator. Yeah, you kind of hang a right, and then you start going up along the slopes. And
A guy that didn't have a lot of
DOFA, forestry and wildlife, just
but you should kind of
hired us
for your
to
job.
Well, thank you.
fire.
Because I drafted
Call to Spring State Park, so we spent some clothes on park for a month. Forest rangers, big grinders to
Who's Matt Wire?
the council
vegetation. And I was staggered
to have your position have actual.
I had been
I'm sorry.
relocated for 10 years.
Yeah, he's to,
So,
management, you know, as much as,
I'm a key, like just everywhere.
so I draft
driving along the road,
new
stop
job
for
code,
just a second, they'll start
everything I put in.
singing again, right around you.
Actually, you don't do overboard for.
You do, but,
for- But, so we watered them down,
I think
strong enough.
measures.
One step at a time with the emergency management.
That's it. I've been on the island for 5 years.
And that was what was saving us for a while.
I knew you were in LA.
Yeah, I'm retired. And I've just been kind of.
So I hope I didn't just botch you guys by saying.
No. A chapter textbook on crisis communication. And, you know, she's living in Australia, very good, and then Papua New Guinea.
My,
So I'm not really.
friend lives on Hawaii and I have never visited.
I wanted, like this project, I wanted to do. Oh, it's hot.
Yeah.
She's driven. She's the opposite. Remember her, right? She has gray hair, short. She's fat.
Well, they recognized her.
Yeah, I'm sorry I missed it.
Which is why when that.
I'm selling my house,
Okay.
and I had my 2 months. So I just,
Everything's my.
I'm buying another car. I'm just selling my house. Why did you land?
Outside of Waikiki and so
Okay, like it's good. It's temporary. Are you gonna buy it?
Well, I don't think I'll buy, but I mean, I got the 6-month lease and because I did it in a day when I visited a month ago.
Yeah, it's
and-
hard, right?
I know, I was out of luck to see you guys.
Right.
Actually, it was planned.
Got a beautiful view of Diamond Day. And I'm fine, you know, I've been, you know, like, been here a week, so
Yeah.
I'm still, but it's nice to get a 6-month lease where I take my time and maybe think of places or.
Yeah,
what I
look
want or
around.
whatever.
If you decide to buy, I have an agent. She's pretty good. She staged my house. She made it's a staged house right now, but they're fabulous. Yeah, they're.
This one was a furnished apartment, so that made
Yeah,
it even
you
better,
would need that,
easier
yeah.
to just come in and
Yeah,
go.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm a bit of a minimalist. I don't, you know.
Me
things
too.
like that.
Well, I mean, I don't have a lot of things to get, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. My house is. So it's whenever I'm on an island, because I still have a house in LA. Whenever I'm on, almost.
Yeah, it's being built, but our current.
So that's what I'm trying to do.
Kind of. All of this.
For like a. I'm shopping around too.
I mean, I guess it's.
Thanks.
We gotta set up a time. I'm going off island in June.
And it was also very.
Okay.
Take your.
For a while?
I'm going to, I gotta go to. I sent you, that works at USC. She's got a big program, so it's good for
Now we have. We didn't even have a map of.
management conference. I'm not studying management, but I spoke last year,
So many different ages.
they've gone from, I've done, screened out like 40. That's happening there. I'll probably be back around August.
Okay.
Yeah, so you know, get it, like something on the book to include Dottie, because I want you to, want you to have a present that's people that plan.
Something you read?
I just saw this morning.
That's way cooler than the
You're already gonna hear.
Firewatch or whatever it is, watch me. Because watch me, you can see the helicopters, but this is like.
Have a whole list of all the people that are supposed to be setting up meetings.
Good.
So, and you're on it, so.
If Dottie's on it, you can combine it. I don't know that she is.
Dottie's not on it, but you're on it, and so when they reach
Okay.
out to you, just
I will,
coordinate with
yeah,
that.
I will. And what I would like to do is arrange a tour so you can physically, that'll help you. People are talking about board.
This HRS 135 is
Back to,
we can really use.
but we'll have lunch.
With symbols, gestures.
So that's a problem.
That'll be
Really
this is where
Yeah.
I can introduce you to that side.
So
that goes straight up to.
How many staff?
Right now, or how many positions do we
Well,
have?
what,
So.
I think we have 17.
and you're budgeted for, or
Uh,
are they
teach everybody else.
vacancies?
But we have,
Right.
there's this whole thing about
Changing.
civil service versus our grant funded, which is here too, but.
If you drive.
What? Yeah.
Otherwise, everybody wants to go this road.
Exactly. 6.
They got better over time, yeah, as far as the whole, they got some models.
That's why I love
We have the positions which we're taking applications for now. One is, the person is still there. One is the mass here.
That's all I know.
Communications position.
Like hours and hours.
But then we also know somebody retired. Got work today that. Yeah, so we got a lot of change happening. Go into additional knowledge time. I view that as not as an opportunity where
Maybe I'm.
start
Oh, no, wait, sorry.
adding positions and moving
Back over here.
out.
Friday.
Start mapping out so
We're coming out
what it looks like and start moving in that direction. And it's easier to kind of change those things when the intent versus when somebody's in those positions.
And then that leads. Now you're talking about. That reserve list like.
Have,
Like retired
Parts at 4 o'clock.
oh, I don't think so. They're volunteers. Red lights too, and they go out and it's when rotate.
Symbolic.
That they're.
So from then on.
I don't know about that.
There's they can fill you in the other county folks. They keep on. I don't know, I feel like they're part-time.
That's exactly what I'm big on.
They don't get paid unless they do. Attitude, I know, so.
Yeah. My very long list of.
Got a lot on your.
Yeah.
I do, but I like it.
And then I want to hear about your Saudi. I mean, Reggie's told me a lot.
How do you know Reg?
Just in great.
All right, lunch is here.
And
There's one right
I was
there.
thinking about applying for his position there. After talking to him,
Yeah.
Like anyone now will not be getting paid what he said. You were,
Well, I,
oh,
well,
he said,
so, I hardly.
so Saudis are like playing all of you.
I wish we talked about it. But the way they did it for me was they said, "What are you making now at El Segundo?" And they added 20% to it, and then that was my offer. Now that
Wait,
being
in El Segundo, you were what? The EM
coordinator.
coordinator? No, that didn't happen.
Yeah, no, I was making about 115. Yeah, but that being said, I would say they judged me twice while I was there, so that helped significantly. But if they hired him and offered 20% more than what he was
He hasn't
making,
got any promotions, right? So when you got promoted, was it like 20%?
Okay, sorry to interrupt your conversation. I just want to let you know for lunch we have cherry sesame chicken, lemon herb coconut snapper, gluten-free, creamy chana masala, gluten-free, yellow saffron rice, side of garden salad with house dressing, palpia cubes with fruits and a drink. We got soda there and then some juice and water in the cooler. We have several vegan options as well, which is curry potatoes and peas, grilled tofu, creamy chana masala, rice. So same thing with tofu.
The vegan.
You know where that one's gonna be.
No, it's gonna be in my tummy. Anyway, yeah, I'll just wait for. I look forward to it.
Here's the hand sanitizer.
Well, that's good.
Chicken drums.
I'm gonna wait and let everybody else.
I said.
You're gonna have the vegan.
Really?
It's correct.
That'll give you the run.
What?
Just joking. I said, that'll give you the run.
You want to see what it looks like?
Oh.
It doesn't look bad.
Oh. Vegan.
Yeah. What'd you get? Did you get?
I don't know yet, John. This is a surprise.
I got the vegan.
You got the vegan? Oh yeah. Oh, it looks good.
It's good, actually.
That's pretty good.
You got the chicken.
Did I get chicken?
I
Okay.
think so.
Yeah. Drawing a lot of tracks, man, on that.
Oh.
That kind is like a long.
The spot, the
Original French follows
IUH. Good. Really?
Get a couple guys in the bushes.
Got the vegan, huh?
The snapper. What that vegan?
What the
I went
heck?
for the vegan just to see what.
It's good.
But you got
Oh, so how
the
did
vegan too.
football go?
46-0.
Made it sound
Oh.
so yummy. I'll try that. Potatoes.
21.
You don't want quarterback. Oh yeah.
I think they would have
That's kind of tough. I would fly.
I was almost gonna say something, said, nah, probably.
Good. Happy.
Huh?
Sure. Because there's anything happy.
Yeah, like.
But no quarterback.
So who did you guys lose to? The highest? I mean, who was the?
We lost to Puno. Then we lost to one of them. We were supposed to
Oh,
win.
right there, right.
Oh, yeah, and they got wiped out by, but Bin Laden.
Campbell. Stokes was kind of watching the game. I mean, just being the inaugural season, like, it's like these girls was waiting to play.
Oh, yeah.
At this level, in this setup, forever.
It was really, really cool to watch. Really cool.
And the games you had, Mililani, was it Mililani?
Some results.
But like,
I'm really enjoying this.
Yeah, I have no complaints. This is.
oh, really? Sea noise. Oh, wow. So
I'd like to
neighbor, my neighbor. Was that?
So you went to India a couple years ago, is that what you were saying?
Oh,
You were just there.
I'm glad we did it. We're not there now.
I know. Sounds like a stressful time to be in India.
Told. Supposed to do.
Holy cow. That tastes like a melted shaver. It is so sweet.
You know what's cool? Like backyard. Coaching the boys and also coaching the girls, and I don't know, really is just to see that interest in their involvement. Well, but I heard.
I'm sorry, Daryl is not here to join.
It was the most funnest time to coach football. Too calm. Yeah. Little things where
Just said that killer whale was spouting. So cold in here.
Video.
Oh, going in circles. Get one big catch on the ball. Ah! 2-yard pass. Ah! Get the ball down. Ah! I mean, it was like, and so it,
I bet you've had good conversations there about football.
oh, why?
Guessing.
No,
It's
the follow. And the boys, they're
slow
like,
moving.
They had,
what?
And they were discussing,
Yeah, well, I just had a, I
he
think,
had a hatchet.
not even days ago.
Putting it in
His football. I cannot wait to see the
Flowing
uniforms and how the fashion.
cutting off a slice of it.
Just even the headgear.
And putting it in there, so it would embed it in there and then.
me either.
The hatchet back off. And he would.
What about Mike Zombie? Talk to him. He likes it.
Very.
Yeah.
Really? That's right, that's right, yeah. Meet you and I'm shaking his hand.
Hmm. But is he here reporting?
Actually, I report to. He has.
This whole thing is good.
Hands off.
You get,
I don't know if they're just letting me settle in.
there's two different kinds of, probably the way.
Yeah.
Green curry.
That's right, they all.
Open their eyes.
Picture.
Sorry. Mona.
But running.
Sorry, Mona.
What?
I said, oh, she said there's two kinds of curry. The green curry and the yellow curry and the Mona curry.
Oh, funny. They used to tease me when I was little.
Yeah.
Yeah. Curry this, curry that.
It's good though.
So I was thinking.
Oh, shoot.
Oh, in LA? I have a house. My father lives there. Now I moved out. I moved into the desert.
Drives apart. Just.
Pulling each other. Just like, what a good. Yeah.
Glenda, do you not eat meat at all?
I love, but I also like Indian food, so okay.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
No, I like,
Yeah. What kind of cut? What's your favorite cut?
probably ribeye.
Oh yeah.
Have you had the cat steak?
Oh.
You know what the ribeye, and it has this little cat,
Yeah.
they roll that up. That's the cat steak.
I heard about
It's
that.
really
Never
good.
tried that.
Oh, it's really good.
Well, I did have deer back strap. I know. Time. What's the really good?
It's kind of like a strip, not strip, but
LA?
what do they call it? Split 20, isn't it?
Yeah. It's lean. It's really lean.
That's kind of why I was
I mean,
looking
I
at,
don't know how it was. Yeah.
Saudi and I wanted to kind of create more.
We get our best meats from Costco at this point.
Yeah.
instead of Apple.
After I retired, I did work for a year and a half. That was great. I really liked
Where's
it.
Costco?
But
Downtown, next to
Oh, yeah.
Cucuy, right
Okay.
next to Home Depot. It's kind of like in Honolulu.
Yeah, yeah, like how
that's
it's
just
same
I
block.
was wondering, are they related to each other?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so.
I think what non-meat, wow,
Well, you know, at the highest corporate levels, we don't know
that's like, wow,
related. No.
Right.
maybe not there.
Definitely a once in a lifetime opportunity.
Yeah,
Where's the softball?
yeah, right, I was in.
And then when's the last time you went to Taiwan?
In a compound, but you went to buy on fun camp trips or something.
I really want to see it after see what.
It's an Aboriginal community in the middle of the island.
And you make a lot of friends.
This pass, or
I did
you're going
a lot of people
on the river
to
to get in there, but it's all in, again,
Oh,
because of driving distance.
it's a tunnel.
I went to.
Wow.
I thought it was looking at.
It's
Oh.
too,
And
You let go one helicopter.
that flight.
Have a single.
walls.
That tells me.
valley. And it's interesting. When we
Not
were
like
there,
we're
they had,
More.
they just had it
So you could do.
like a couple of days,
So I would go visit.
but they had it,
that's nice.
so, but only one lane of traffic. So yeah, it's really nice.
You could use 2 more work days.
Enjoyed it.
So.
Did you go back? Oh, you just came back. How long were
Yeah,
you there?
4 days.
And why did you decide
Did you get to
to end that? You finished your 3-year.
That's the problem with
Yeah.
business trips. I mean, you know,
Yeah,
sounds really, you just let me know when. Not really.
it was, but yeah, we didn't get to see it.
All right, thanks.
One is,
Guys did a mass notification, didn't tell me. Answer.
did you know Cynthia Brown?
On the west
North
side?
Shore, North Shore. She was HPD and then she went up north.
Water tank is
To Pulse.
in bottles.
It's still awesome.
Uh,
She started Santa Monica. Chief.
Up in arms.
Just after. 2020.
I feel like I would know her.
Anyway, she was, so she left Santa Monica
I'm actually off next.
to Neom.
Oh,
So she hired me.
This son's gonna
Oh.
graduate.
Oh, from where?
And
Georgetown. He went, yeah.
Georgetown. Wow,
In
great.
DC.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
first thing she's
Sad.
spot on.
You know, he loves it up there though. He graduated a semester early in December. And he got a job with a PR firm. He's into policy and
Quite smart.
yeah, very, so it was a good fit for him.
And
We're very lucky. He found his interest and he's
basically,
gonna be up there, you know.
2 buckets, 2 pails, 2 buckets.
I love Washington DC.
For all
Yeah.
the shit. Them gets
My
spilled.
wife works for United, so we get flight bennies. So we've been able to go back and forth, and he's been, so we love it. Yeah, DC is awesome.
It's pretty.
A few days
She
in,
was like, we have
sometimes we go for 2 days.
bucket, which is practice and why we.
Lived there for 20 years. It's like, oh, I love it.
She's right.
Yeah.
There's some really good restaurants now.
Right?
Early on, I felt very effective.
I mean,
getting some contracts, and they gave me money to do what we needed to do and that sort of thing. And then maybe after the first year and a half, then it was just like everything you threw up. We said, this is what we need. They were listening and paying attention, and then so that kind of ruined my bucket. And then it was just okay. Now I just need to wait for the right next job to come along.
There's a lot of food.
I renewed my 3-year
Yeah,
contract.
pretty good job on that.
So I could have stayed, and
Your finger, you
but I really was looking to
take it slow.
come back to the States. I felt
That's self-inflicted or someone else?
Someone grabbed.
have been
Really? Wow.
That's kind of why I never followed through, with
Really?
anything Saudi related, because I got such.
How'd you get to let go? Or you? This was.
Bought the net out first with my son's help.
I don't know. And then me being a woman.
Slowly out. Was holding on for a while.
Is there any way to get it handled? It goes on? Or,
Yeah.
I,
Kill it.
well, I know, but,
that's what I felt might happen.
Easier said than
but
done.
it's still, I
But
mean,
when
it's
you,
the claw
if you
still
remove
there.
the claw from the crab,
Cynthia definitely
Stuck, right?
like
that's the last reaction.
so. She was
Kind of pliers, that would be quite a sting. I'll just put them in between and wow.
And she probably, she would, she probably,
Had to take the pain,
yeah.
so we took the net off, just put the crab on the rock, right side up, because it was upside down.
I hope you took it home and boiled it and eat it.
Only
Excellent.
a small.
Well, too small. Oh, that's good though.
I thought would be a really beautiful thing, like kind of
Yeah.
get here,
Gotta be really big.
mushy,
Oh.
delicious. I mean, I still have a lot.
I would think you would be able to take it home.
Hey,
Kill.
let me present.
The question is, was your son standing by laughing or helping?
Trying to help.
No, yeah.
Thank you. I don't know, but
Wow.
like a
Did
trophy.
you get a lot in that?
They,
Nice one.
and it maybe I could do it. Then when I started investigating, talking, that I met there. So, Reggie and I'm saying, I want that exposure. I don't fail. Step into it.
Yeah, Reggie works for the person that Cynthia works for. And he's an older county. He's kind of got some more
She is, sir.
traditional,
We're eating.
traditional Saudi.
Where we were at.
But it really there at Neon, it's hit or miss. I mean, some of your,
We're gonna use this as a kind of working lunch.
Hey.
Some of us wrapping up, just continue to eat, and we'll just, continue with the HACEM. We'll circle back around to, Wahoo DM.
yeah, hello, everybody. Thanks for the warm welcome. I'll keep mine brief because I've only been here less than a week and still trying to figure out what we're doing. But that being said, I was just telling Mona too, it really is amazing to me, being the newbie to the state, how much risk we really hold in this state with regards to natural hazards and so forth, and then and the consequences after that in structure. So that being said, working really closely with Jennifer to understand where we're at in Oahu. We have 3 positions that are that we're trying to fill. And then and I think that we're going to have a few more open up. So our staffing isn't optimum, for sure. But that being said, in talking with Jennifer, I think our big focus, number 1, is right sizing our staffing, and that right sizing our budget. And then second thing that we're really focused on is getting into a new emergency operations center, which Hero had already been working on, going back even 5 years. But it, you know, for one reason or another, it stalled out here or there. I mean, there's plans in my office, they have a location, all that. So we're going to kind of revitalize that and try to get a new emergency operations center in place. So those are our basically our top two focal points. And after that, we have lots of ideas that we really want to get together and really start hashing out a program of emergency management with a strategic plan in place. At the hazards that we have, expanding our staff significantly, especially with the new federal push on state and locals taking on more responsibility. I want to leverage that as much as I can with our council, mayor, and that sort of thing. But I really think that moving forward, we'll start seeing a larger department. I feel like I have this for the mayor bringing me on. We had discussions of what we wanted to do. It sounds like we also have support of the council. So things that those are the top issues that we're focused on. And I'm sure I'll have a lot more to report about next time we meet, but we're still drinking through that fire hose and figuring a lot of things out. Kind of thing.
All right, welcome to the team.
Thanks.
All in the same kind of canoe. Same struggles with staffing levels. And does it help that Amos shows up with renderings of his new deal?
Right, we're all jealous now.
Bring up the next slide. These are some of the things we'll update today. What I wanted to do is I went to the siren map first. We'll talk to FEMA at the end of this update slides on FEMA. So try go next, Louis, and click on get us into the siren map. We had a meeting with the GIS folks. A few months ago, they came and they had a meeting with me. They said, we're going to make your siren map the best thing ever. I was like, I doubt it. So I challenged them. This isn't it yet. They gave me a touch point last week. Still not what we think we'll get to. But what it'll be is it'll be a very dynamic public-facing map where the team can update live updates to the map. So anyway, if you just try going to like Maui, just put like a yellow siren. Yeah, just kind of zoom into that a little bit. Anyway, so see, they're not there yet, right? When the siren shows up with the yellow saying that we can repair it, right? It's something that HACEM technicians can handle. We don't update this until we do the test, and then we update that it's fixed. Eventually, we'll get to where the technicians will update. They go out, they fix the batteries, they change the batteries. Boom! It turns green. Another feature they'll put in is during our monthly test, the public can click on a map and click on a siren and tell us, "Hey, I didn't hear this siren during this monthly test." And then we can action that. So get it to a very dynamic map. Right now, you can see it was just updated on the April 14th. We're reading on the data from the May test, and then we'll update it again. The other one, the black sirens that are beyond repair, what the team will do is, if we're not going to repair that black siren in place, we'll put the proposed working on for that replacement. An example would be Pacific Palisades that had a black map that's beyond repair. We're actually moving it Oka of that location on a state property. Another example that where the current location, we're just moving it and we'll be able to put that so the public can see that and you can see that. So I just wanted to let you know that we're making progress. In fact, the GIS team's coming back on the 22nd to show me what they got. So we'll see. And then the other thing is, it'll be linked to a Commander 1. So when Commander 1 is showing us that there's some kind of signal problem, maybe not the public facing, but format that we'll be able to see as it may. Okay, we can jump out of that. And then I'll let John talk some community stuff.
Yeah, thanks, sir. So I appreciate the council's time. I just want to give an overview of what outreach looks like at HAIMA. I came into this position 2 years ago as of May 1st. And when you look in these blocks here, the only program that really stood up and had any solid foundation was the HR program. And since then, we've gone through a revamp. So I just kind of want to talk to you folks through, because we are talking to a lot of the communities in your counties, right, in your neighborhoods. And so today I kind of want to just go over the overview of how all of this really feeds into Administrator Barros's vision of federating emergency management across the state of Hawaii, right? Everyone has a role. Everyone should understand their role in any type of response, recovery, and so forth. And so starting with Hawaii Hazards Awareness and Resilience Program, I think in this room, everybody knows me as the HARP guy, good or bad, or some of the challenges that we face. But ultimately, the HR program is about community resilience. And when we talk about community resilience, we're talking about, the broad foundational level of what preparedness and resilience looks like. We know a lot of communities out there already are doing under blue skies, are part of sustainable activities, whether it be food security, water quality, feeding the community. And so trying to do with that is tap into, okay, my team in at HAIMA, right, there's a team of 6 of us. And we're going and saying, okay, what do you folks already do in your community, right, that we can leverage in the case of a disaster? And how do we then train and raise awareness and train you through and provide the education and facilitating collaboration, coordination? And so it's really a heavy lift for us at HAIMA. We're making, right now, we currently are actively engaging 27 communities. That's not saying community hubs or resilient hubs, but 27 communities. A large part of that is on the Big Island with Vibrant Hawaii, who right now we're going through 16 communities that exist under Vibrant Hawaii, and we're looking at how we can put the pieces together to come up ultimately with a community emergency action plan that makes sense for the community and it makes sense for us at HAIMA. And with that said, Administrator Barros is always telling me, hey, communities are there to plan for their worst case scenarios at the county level, community level. We are planning for the worst day at the state level, right? How do we support counties and communities in the case of multiple incidents across the state? And so we're not looking to get in the weeds and lead the communities to where they need to go, but more so facilitate and provide the information, education, and training where we can. And moving along to the right, we have our P3, or public-private partner program and effort. And really that is similar to what you folks have been talking about in identifying the businesses out there, who's doing what are their resources, what are their capacities. What we're doing though is really with P3 is this is our general, we're calling it the general population of our partners. That means we want to stand up a registration portal so that we can get information about businesses, for-profits, nonprofits, and how maybe some of the faith-based organizations fall in that, community-based organizations. What does that look like across the state? Yeah, and P3 also, we are looking at how do we then support building business resilience, right? How do we train up businesses? How do we facilitate workshops, trainings, whatever that may look like across the state to enhance the resilience of businesses themselves?
And then as we move to the right, we stood up the business EOC. The business EOC is tied directly into our state EOC, in which now, when the state now, coming from the county level, the state now doesn't have the resources or solutions to support, we now can throw RFAs, RFIs to the business EOC. So how we work them in tandem, the public-private partners, again, is our general population, who's who, who's doing what, let's get information on the business. And then as we go through that, we identify, hey, what businesses it makes sense to now bring into our business EOC, right? We're talking about industry liaisons, maybe sector leads within industries themselves. Part of that, we're working with the Hawaii Chamber of Commerce, so that we have eyes across what the chambers are looking at and some of the sister chambers, and what they're doing and where those partnerships already exist. And the goal again is not to, we don't think we're identifying maybe new partners for the counties, but to identify what partners already exist or have an MOU or agreements with the counties, and then we go from there, right? So we're just mapping out. What we are looking at though is that, for example, the big box stores or the corporations where they have a local, obviously retail space or physical space, we know they're directly connected within the community already, but we're looking out at the national level or the higher levels of what does that look like in a multi-county support for, let's say, a Home Depot, or whatever support that we can get from our private partners. Yeah. So we launched the business EOC during last HERX, took place last month. Last month we had the HERX, and so we brought in 5 partners that we said, hey, let's kind of see what happens. We got them logged into WebEOC, working with IT. How do we first obviously share information? How do we get these partners logged in, as soon as possible? And then we facilitated the discussions just to watch the discussion across the partners and how they actually, we're going to work together, because we're not identifying what you're doing or how you're doing it. We're saying, hey, take what you already do, and we're going to bring other partners to the table within the BEOC, and you folks have that discussion. And so it's very fruitful. We learned a lot. We learned a lot how to back off too, because hey, they get them. Like they got a lot of good ideas. But how do we facilitate? How do we facilitate and that coordination and that planning? And for Makani Pahili, we are looking to activate a few more partners as a part of the exercise. One of the things that falls under P3 is our public-private forums. And that is where we're going to provide training to our general population of partners, resilience, options, how do you work at HAIMA, how do you work at emergency management, and also we're going to have these forums to train up the partners that are part of the BEOC. And so, again, we're just at the state level. What this looks like at the county levels, we're open to having that discussion so that we can better support what your folks' visions are at the county and community levels. And then we have the Volunteer and Donations Management Task Force. This is something that I was assigned to during the response for Lahaina. Learned a whole lot there. And so now we actually have a dedicated lead that's going to be running the task force in volunteer and donations. And that ties nicely into as well the everyday connectivity for volunteers that are already functioning within communities, right? That may be a part of our HR programs, maybe part of the public-private partnerships. And so it's conducive and it kind of creates that conduit to continue communications and strengthening volunteer efforts. Then we have our Tsunami Ambassador Program. What we're doing is we're focusing at middle school age students. We're using the DOE or the schools to identify the the vulnerable communities based on the school, where the schools are located, but we're not necessarily running the program within the DOE. We did a pilot program early last year. We worked with a private school, with St. Louis High School, to see what that would look like. And so there's a lot of challenges on figuring out how does that fall into the DOE's curriculum, or even a private school that has made more independent control of curriculum. How does that all work? So what we're doing now is we're redesigning after that pilot program as, okay, let's take a cohort, let's identify this cohort of middle-aged students, kids, and how can we run them through an experience, a tsunami awareness experience. We're working with the Pacific Tsunami Museum with Cindy Preller and Dr. Walter Dudley up there. It's a huakai, right? We take the cohort, we do a visit, we study the history, kind of learn what happened in the past. And then we're going to go back into the community that the cohort is from, and maybe go into that community and go onto sites and talk about tsunamis, and raising awareness and providing some real experience of being on the land and seeing what the problems are. And then the state cert coordination, this is something we just started to stand up maybe about 3, 4 months ago. FEMA had mentioned to me that, hey, there's a state level cert coordination, and I wasn't aware of it. So I reached out within our agency and found out that yes, that did live within HAIMA. And so Administrator Barros directed it to outreach now. So now we have our volunteer agency liaison, who is now the lead for the state cert coordination. Because one of the flags came up from FEMA was, hey, we know there's a lot of cert activity at the county levels, but according to our registry, or where FEMA was tracking the cert program, there were only 2 or 3 that was on the list. And we said, wait a minute, there's a way lot more activity going there. So talking about the cert, and again, that's to facilitate and help with coordination with the counties. This also ties into our HR program, because a lot of the questions that we've got is, hey, isn't HR same as cert? And the answer is no, right? And what we want to do before we start going out into communities and just saying this, no, it's not the same. We want to go through the process of training up our cert coordinator lead, to identify what does that look like at the federal level in its structure. Okay, what's going on at the county level, and then how in a state in between do we facilitate that, and better coordinate with the cert leads across the county. So that the difference between HARP and CERT is that HARP is for everyone in a community, right? General preparedness. We have 6 modules. Modules 1 through 3 focuses on personal preparedness, right? And that hopefully translates to personal kuleana, maybe accountability for each individual to understand whether it's just for yourself or your family, then within your neighborhood, within your community, and so forth. And so when we go towards now the planning within an HR training module for CERT, in modules 4 and 5 is 4 is risk assessment, right? We're taking an assessment across the community, what the capacities are, what's the resources. And then in module 5 is where the community actually develops a community emergency action plan. So in 4 and 5, no, though, that's where we narrow down the focus to say, okay, the county's involved in the planning, risk assessment and planning, right? And then what response teams may be already in that community, whether it be a Be Ready nonprofit, or if it's an actually certified group that's in that community that can now integrate into the HR as the responders of that community, right? And so that's how we're kind of putting that together. And again, we're building this with you folks, right? The goal here is to build it for the community, with the community, and help us to get to where we need to be at HAIM at the state level, just to have our boxes checked with information, understanding the communities, and understanding what that community emergency action plan looks like. And then finally, we're working with the University of Hawaii Community College system. That's where I came from before HAIMA. And what does education and training look like? Right now, we are we're focused in an effort with Leeward Community College. As we work on the Waianae Coast, or the Leeward Coast of Oahu for now, we're looking at how do we build that model, yeah? And then how does education or educational pathways into ultimately workforce development, right, over time. One of the concerns, we go out into the Leeward Coast, and the community always is sharing, what about today? What about our kids now? What is there for our kids? If they're part of a CERT program, if they're part of these trainings and these workshops that you folks are doing, how does that lead them into a pathway somewhere? If they're interested in emergency management, community leadership, how does that lead them? And so we're working on that. So we've talked to pretty much all of the CCs right now to some degree, yeah. And just bringing this up, here's how we're trying to look at educational pathways. One of the recent meetings I've had is with Pierce College in Washington State. Pierce College for the past 10 years has been working to identify how do you take certification programs, community programs, how do you design that into the matrix of curriculum and offering credit towards these type of trainings. We're not there yet, but they've been doing it for the past 10 years. For example, a CERT certification, they come up with a 1 credit, weighting system that they use that fits into their 2-year programming. And also they run a online or hybrid +2 for emergency management to get a BA in emergency management. Okay? And so they've been working with a lot of the tribes out in Alaska. They have already a partnership in American Samoa Community College. So we're looking at those partnerships and what that looks like. And so ultimately, tying all of what we're doing through education and training, into workforce development as we move into the future of emergency management. Pending any questions, Bob? That's all I got.
Any questions for John?
I do. Have you looked at high schools too, or is it just starting out at community college level?
Nope. So we're looking at high schools as well. So as a part of our Tsunami Ambassador program, what we're looking at, we start with middle school. They start now going through to high school. What for example, teen cert programs, high school cert programs, what does that look like? And then how can that matriculate into the community college system?
Do you have any, have you come across any high schools with good programs? Because we're trying to connect with Kahuku High School, and they're actually giving us a cohort, an APIS, Asian Pacific International School, of students, and we're trying to figure out how we can create a teen cert for them to use them in that way. But we need some models. Do you have any like good?
So we don't right now, but working with Nancy Oki, who's with Maui College. She's part of the University of Hawaii Community College outreach extended programming, and they have a program. I think Amos might be familiar with Nancy Oki in the 4-H Pono program, right? So we're actually kind of working with them to identify what programming they have in line, and so we really just want to piggyback, right? We're not trying to invent any wheels, but yeah. So we're still searching ourselves, like who can we piggyback on?
Yeah, if you find any good examples, that we can model too.
Absolutely.
Would like that. And then I don't want to go back to Joe again from the Key Project, but he asked us the other day if we had any recommendations to send to him, names of some that we could include in a training he's organizing for Train the Trainer for Teen Cert. So I don't know. We it was a short deadline, but he's also working on that. I feel like we can leverage each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
A bit more because he's got that castle funding,
right,
to do training, and that's something that's happening now.
Yeah. So on Oahu, that's something where we've had a conversation with Jeff Spencer, who's been running, the cert programming, and so yes, we can be a part of that collaboration, identifying how to partner. Absolutely.
Leveraging what he's already trying to do. Also, it just seems like such an easy thing to do.
Yeah. So that's really our priority, is how do we facilitate these, right? Instead of.
Okay.
So John, we've tried for Hawaii Island to get teen cert, whether it's in the school or different affiliations. So if you have any recommendations or assistance, information you can give us, facilitate those programs.
Okay, terrific. So one thing I didn't share, right now, so we're looking at sending our lead to the national conference, cert conference. I think it's in August. What we want to do is we want to stand up a state advisory group, and we want to identify at the county level what if there's an existing advisory group, or should we invite from those potential groups to the state advisory group, so that we can have these discussions and we can work through all of this. Yeah. Give us some time though. We need some time. We're pushing. We'll do what we can.
I think in the last meeting, I mentioned us trying to push to host National CERT Conference. Do you remember that conversation? I still think we should really try to do that, have Hawaii host National CERT Conference. Yeah. I spoke at their conference probably about 7-8 years ago, and everyone from across the country comes to their conference. And I think it would really highlight our own, CERT capabilities if we brought it here.
Yeah, I think that's something to look into, especially when FEMA recognized, and that's why I was initially contacted about CERT from FEMA. I can't remember what department, I was still kind of fresh in all of it, but that was their question, like, hey, we're hearing so many good things about CERT programs around Hawaii, but who's registered with them was very minimal. Yeah. So
we have a CERT team, but they're not nationally CERT certified. We just can't meet all their standards.
So this is what we're going to be looking at, right? And identify with this the state advice. Okay, do we want to standardize to a certain level across the counties? Do we not? What does that look like? Yeah. We're not going to make that determination alone, but that's what the state advisory group would look like. Okay. What would be mission with?
Any other questions for John?
Thank you.
So just realize when you're briefing John, you get beat up pretty much every day from me, huh?
Yeah, every day, boss. Ready to go, though. Ready to go. And Oki's next. So. That's why he put us together. Man. The punching bags.
We're working on, and I talked to the administrators last week about building up our strategic plan for HACEM and emergency management. So when I put the slide in, Amber came running. She goes, "Slide's empty." I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." Because we as a whole developed this. So there's some draft statements that I'll throw out to the administrators to look at building this up, because what we want to do too is we want this to help drive our engagement with the ledge and our elected officials at the state and the county. So when we talk about hiring people, when we talk about how it's linked to John and how he's trying to build the next generation through community colleges, through high school programs, we still need that expertise from the retirees. And what do we need from the ledge? So what, about maybe it was a year ago, the governor came and spoke to me. Let's look at the Hawaii we deserve, and let's build the Hawaii we deserve. So that's kind of what will drive this planning for 2025 into the next 5 years of the emergency management that people of Hawaii deserve. So more to follow on this, but yes, Amber is blank, and we're going to continue to develop it. Try to go to the next slide. So Ethan, but I don't, I hired Ethan to be my ledge guy. Last session, he was 0 for 4. This session, I think your batting average came up a little bit.
I don't know if that's like motivation. I don't know how to take it other than just yes, sir. So the legislative session just ended last week Friday. To say the least, it was quite chaotic with the new speaker, with her team, as well as the finance chair. If you guys are monitoring that, just got replaced yesterday. Yeah. Yamashita is out, and Todd is now the new finance committee chairman. How that's going to work out, we're still glued to the screen to see how that works. Yeah, most definitely. So with that being said, we actually had two legislative bills that are not here that didn't make it, but we plan to reapproach the legislature during this interim, like how the administrator said, to really engage them to kind of shore them up with what we do and how we can help their communities so that they can support us more so than just what about this and what about the sirens and what about, right? So the 4 bills that passed that really helped us as an agency, the first one is actually a law now, Act 007 of the 2025 session. With the partnership with the Hawaii State Energy Office, we are now added on with OHS with the ability to see the energy distribution inputs from all the different energy carriers. So basically what we're gonna know is the stockpiles as well as the possible energy sources, whether it's propane, whether it's gas, whether it's crude, so at any given time, if an incident happens, we're seeing what the state energy office is doing or seeing, right? Through the NDAs that were established during PSPS, HACEM is now involved with that ability to see through the Hawaii State Energy Office's dashboard to kind of track that information. So that was a really good win for us because it allows us to really see raw data in regards to planning ahead. So that was SB 1341. The next one, SB 1396 was a combination effort of the governor's office with the different departments, DLNR, DOD, and so on, in regards to the increase of TAT. And this was the bill that passed that increased the TAT by, I think, 0.75 percent, and which is gonna, we're expecting it to generate about 90 million or so annually for the state. That money will go into the general fund and through the governor, and I believe it's the governor's budget, he will put on the allotments of projects for the climate projects throughout the state. So more to follow on that as that kind of gets fettered out through the attorney general and whatnot.
That one was, from Haima's push, that was, provide the matching for the hazard mitigation. So we came to the TET, for matching for hazard mitigation.
Any questions thus far? Okay. HB 1064 related to fire protection. This one was in regards to the state fire marshal. So the state fire marshal not only was re-established last year, they didn't have the capacity as far as staffing and budget and whatnot. So in this legislation session, not only did they define their location, which is the Department of Law Enforcement, they also allotted them 2.2 million for staffing, which is going to allow them to really kind of build their agency across the state. So that was a good positive win. And then HB 1159 regarding the commercial harbors. So with this bill, also with partnership with DOT Harbors, in regards to the commercial ports, more specifically the Port of Honolulu, the U.S. Coast Guard and the captain of the port has the authority to kind of push out all the large vessels. The challenge was the smaller vessels with a certain tonnage and below were kind of like left to do whatever they wanted. This legislation provided that not only DOT harbors can re-engage them, they could allow the harbor master to kind of have the authority to kick them out. Or not necessarily kick them out, but have them evacuate the Port of Honolulu, which is essential for our goods that comes into the state. And not only us on Oahu, but all the neighbor islands as well. And if we were to even go even further, those impacts could trickle on to American Samoa because of how the vessel comes from the West Coast to Hawaii, to American Samoa, to Guam, and so on. So if the Port of Honolulu was to go down, it impacts more than just Oahu. It would impact the state as well as these other ports you just suggested. So through the ringer of the legislative session, it got reduced to establishing a working group for commercial harbors emergency evacuation, which we still support in partnership with the DOT harbors because they will be able to lead it and really establish the clear rules for them to have the authority and ability to either fine or encourage these small boat operators to kind of exit, or if anything, move to another harbor, whether it's in Waianae, so on. So these four bills are wins, but keep in mind we're back next session, starting right now, with engaging our legislative partners to kind of not only them, the chair, committee members of those committees, which a lot of them were just newly appointed or elected, so to kind of really introduce HAIMA to them, as well as what we do as far as EM. So from now to January, we'll probably be engaging you folks as far as support of how we can get our elected throughout the state, as well as here on Oahu, to kind of support our initiatives. So, any with that, any questions? Anybody?
For the resilience hub one, that one,
The Community Readiness Center, yes.
that one. That was pretty well received, right?
Yes.
But not funded, kind of.
The challenge with that bill was that we didn't have an actual number. And through the committees, we were able to give them a number. But through just all the bills coming together through the House Finance, it just kind of lost its.
Well, I want to offer my support on that one.
Which we're gonna do again next session. And that administrator are already designing different approaches to that, just as much as we're gonna be really pushing that with our elected during this interim.
Okay, well, if you need, support that can come from, community support.
We'll definitely do that, but I appreciate, thank you.
But you're right, it was well received by everyone that listened to it. It was, they were volunteering, hey, we want one in our community. And everybody on that committee said, we'll take it. But we're not sure it died in fit. So
yeah,
we're gonna re-engage, again, like Ethan said, we're gonna start having those conversations.
Yeah, just include me in that. I'd be happy to put in.
It'll be part of that blank slide that shows our strategic plan. That is definitely, and I was disappointed because in my mind, as communities commit to this elevated state of readiness, commit to, hey, we want to build a resilient, we're committed to it. This is the state's commitment to that community to say, let's do something.
Yeah.
We're going to continue to push that.
It makes sense.
Ethan, what about, there's some bills that we need to veto right now.
Oh, yeah.
Recommend veto.
So there is one bill that we're gonna recommend to the governor to veto, which basically mandates DOD as well as HAEMA to report out within 30 days, I believe, every use of the MDF, which we continually throughout the session oppose because that would only hamper our response with all this paperwork, so to speak. So we're going to recommend to the governor to veto that only because, again, during a response, we want to be quick, fast, flexible to kind of keep pushing that effort. So.
Any other questions for guys?
Yeah, HB 1296 is that bill that we're going to request for veto. So I'm working on the comments and recommendations report. And then we're going to send it to the administrator, which will send it to you, sir. Any other questions or concerns? Thank you.
Okay. Next, we're going to move into our chief litigation officer. Give us an update.
Okay. Next slide, please. This is our glide path for the 4724 Hazard Mitigation Grants Program, and you can find this on our website. But as you can see, just yesterday, we submitted our 4th round of submissions. So to date, there's 24 projects under FEMA review, and we're about halfway there. So really exciting news. And thank you to all the counties for your folks' support in getting these projects through. It's a big lift. So we're grateful for your collaboration and partnership. As you can see, it's a very long process. So we're just at the submittal, and then this will take us into 2029 when projects are completed. By your next HACEM meeting, August 13th, we will have submitted all of our projects. So really excited for that date to come. Also wanted to point out, this is my project tracker. Didn't know paper came in this size, but here it is. Oh, thank you. Just wanted to highlight a couple of projects that have been submitted thus far. So for DHHL, we've submitted a prevention and mitigation planning project for wildfire. This will also incorporate defensible space and hazardous fuels reduction across 15 homesteads. Also submitted emergency power for the Kauai County Police Department, which also has FEMA in it, and the Lihue Civic Center. So that was submitted yesterday. Thanks, Elton. We've also submitted Kalailoa Barber's Point, Tier 3 erosion control, and that is really important since that here is the main one to receive construction materials for the state. And also want to highlight the Upper Hula wildfire mitigation or fuels reduction project in Maui County. And then we have submitted the Hilo Medical Center backup generator and electrical infrastructure projects. And then also one of my favorite projects is the seismic retrofit of Wailuku Bridge #1. And we know from Talmadge that is one of the main bridges, a very important thoroughfare for Big Island. And then also want to highlight, we have submitted 3 county backup generator projects, as well as transfer switches. So we have Kauai County's, City County of Honolulu, and Hawaii. Maui is still developing theirs, but no problem. We still have time. It's a whopping 32 project location site, so no problem. It is by far the largest project site, so it's a very heavy lift, and thank you, Amos, for your team for the continued development of that. But we're very excited for this project list. This is a marathon. We're just at the beginning, but we are very grateful for this opportunity and for your partnership. Any questions? Thank you.
So the plan is somewhere in August, or just prior to that, the governor wants to do a big press conference, and he's envisioning us printing out all of these projects and having it on the desk with like I don't think he realizes that every project is about 150 pages long.
That's a short one. Yep, I think HHL's one was about 800 pages.
Yeah, maybe not. We gotta talk to the governor, but he does want to announce that we're getting after 34 projects on the list, right?
About 47. Some have technically separated out due to administrative purposes, but about 44, 47.
And the team's been working hard. Every month we owe projects submission to FEMA because they gave us an extension. So we've been hitting those marks. The counties continue to press your folks on your annual water, guys. Okay. And I thought there was a couple of tactics that were getting ready to.
We're told 2 projects are very near award. I'm not sure which ones exactly, but guessing it might be some of Elton's.
Ellen's.
I think so.
GIS.
Any questions on hazard mitigation? Will be exercised for the next Botanic Committee this coming June. We've already started having the conversations on that EMAC workshop. And we're asking, kind of open up the after when we start talking about EMACs. I think we got kind of pigeonholed and it was really looking at just emergency management and National Guard. So we're opening the aperture and having those conversations. The training audience for Kanikawahili as I see it, is really our state EOC pre-impact and post-impact, and some connectivity with the counties as far as our activities prior to impact. Wednesday is a state holiday, and that one will be just really coming off of Monday's workshop, having our EMAC 18 formed to put EMAC packets together so that they're in a binder ready to execute when needed. So that will happen on Wednesday. And post impact, looking at like 72 hours after the hurricane passes, what does that look like at the state EOC and our state partners? So General Logan mentioned a 3-year exercise kind of cycle. So this is the crawl year. In April, we did the HURX, small partnership with the DOD and Colonel Holbrook, who's the new DCO. He got validated through that HURX. We had Halima had a small piece there at the convention center. The way we see it evolving, turn to the next slide, is that we're gonna start to combine the HURX and mechanical heating. So it's one hurricane exercise for the state. For FY26, you can kind of see the 12 months from July. Every second month of the quarter, we're activating our state docs across all the agencies. And some agencies are getting better. Some we need to help a little bit more. But it's connecting to the state docs. October, that'll be our big tsunami exercise, distant tsunami. So October, we're kind of snapping the top line saying, hey, this is our tsunami exercise for the state. Whereas March is a localized, a smaller scale tsunami exercise. And you can see down in May, around April, May is when state HURX mechanical heating for the state. So somewhere in there. And part of it's being driven because of RIMPAC in June. Halima will participate in RIMPAC 2026. What I anticipate is it'll be a TTX, kind of a tabletop with our partners. And then what they're looking at is in 2030 having a full-scale disc as part of the RIMPAC. So more to follow on that, but they want to get away from HADR and do more disc. That's the conversation that the exercise planners will be pushing. The other one I just want to call on is February 2026. We're looking at partnering again with the Philippines and our National Guard partners and their state partnership program. We did it before where we took, when I was in uniform, we took Dave Lopez from Halima. We took Elton, sorry. We took Hero and Herman. Because we did it with the city that we did it with in the Philippines, was a sister city of Maui. In fact, we took a Maui firefighter too. So we're trying to re-engage different parts of Metro Manila. So there's 2 cities right now, and in that same idea of from the barangay, from the very lowest level of their jurisdiction up to city level, and eventually in 2028 at the national level with the Philippines. And the initial planning, what they asked from Hawaii is, I need some of your expertise to come in and help grade us. be observers and see that we follow what we're seeing. So we're shaking down a little bit more. I just had a team come back from Taiwan last week as they were partnering with the National Fire Academy. They came here, we hosted the president from Taiwan. John went, realized that one of these can drink, huh?
We got him. No, we're in big in general. Big.
So the team went out. What Taiwan wants to do is they want to partner more and more with the state of Hawaii. So we'll host them again sometime in the summer. And when they do their 9/11, is it 9/11?
9/21.
9, yeah, in September, they had that major earthquake and it's a national emergency. Working with them. Kelsey's taking Kelsey and Ethan taking a team to Japan this month. I think with the tsunami and some of their technologies that they're using. And also the port resiliency. Friday, we have a meeting with Australia and their emergency management. And how do we partner with them? I think part of our overall strategic plan for the state is that when we talk to these different countries, when we talk to these partners, island nations just see emergency management. Right? When we talk to Taiwan and we look at HARP and their civil defense that they're looking at, yes, we see the management from a different perspective coming from an island. How do we work together and learn from each other? So any questions on the exercise piece? On that and go to the other slide. And then, just as we're talking about what FEMA does and where they go, I know there's a lot of concern. They did put out this memo. This isn't, it is not the chalk line yet, but this is what the conversations are being held up there. You can see right now, statewide per person, as far as damage is $1.89. Times that by the people you have, we get the threshold. They're proposing an increase in that threshold from $1.89 to $7.56. And you can see the county increases. What that does is our threshold up extremely high for a presidential declaration. So Kauai, the floods that we had recently, that would not have made it. Now you need $1 million plus. Oh, is that 19 million? So you can see the dollar amount that they're pushing it for. What's happening on the state side is that now we're going to go back to the ledge as part of our strategic plan to say, hey, I need a PA program for the state that's state funded. We're part of that TAT, that's mitigation. We have to start to invest in some kind of state PA program. We have to start to invest in some kind of individual assistance program and not rely on the MDF. So this past year, or this past event, MDF opened up, we just threw money in there. Whereas we need to front load some money for public assistance from the state and individual assistance. And then also hazard mitigation. So the 4724, the hazard mitigation money was automatically calculated, right? You want to explain that percentage, how that happens?
It's 15% of what PA and IA spend. So we got a 12-month lock-in that didn't cover all of the debris removal since we don't know that number yet. but that equated to $357.9 million in hazard mitigation. So if you multiply that, math is not my strong suit, but that's 15% of what PNIA has spent.
Now, what people are saying is that it's not going to be automatic. The calculation. We're not sure how to develop that. What we were tracking already. Hey, as the numbers went up, we would get more and more for hazard mitigation. So part of that TAT, creating a state hazard mitigation. Bonnie's that's in there. We have to kind of talk right now. The first slide will show it's the federal government saying now it'll always be 75-25. It's not going to be this moving percentage. And something that we'll have to talk about as far as PNIA with the counties, what does that look like? Or do we kind of take state government come in, PA program, it's on the state. So more to follow on what that state PNIA program looks like. So I wanted to share this piece again. It's proposed. They're talking about it, and it seems like they're leaning into it. So, the memo that came out, the second slide, Louis, go next. Part of public assistance category G facilities, they're not going to consider as automatic. They're going to start to really scrutinize this. In the memo, they talked about the amount of golf courses that use this federal funds to fix. So I know last week when we sat with the administrators, we talked about parks and how important those are to the communities. Again, looking at it from an identification perspective, as we work our hazard mitigation plan and looking at what's really critical in on our items, there's justification to talk parks. So we gotta continue to shape that because FEMA is saying, hey, Cat G is out. So how we shape that for the county and for the state takes some work. And then the final slide from that memo, just that sliding piece of in 4724, we got a 6-month period of 100% cost share where the federal government said we will cover everything from Cat A to Cat Z. We got it. It went from 75-25 to 90-10 to 100% back to 90-10. What FEMA is now saying is that it'll always stay at 25. State will have that obligation. If we make the thresholds of that high numbers, where we can get a president. In that memo, the other one that doesn't really concern us is that they're looking at storms going. That's not us. They're not gonna. They don't want to engage in storms. We're not gonna worry about that. Any questions on FEMA and where we're taking us?
So if we don't get a presidential declaration, then what happens to the individual homeowner who has significant damage? And does that go to small business, or how's that going to work?
I have a call with small business next week, so that's what the other part that FEMA was saying is they don't want to engage anybody that has insurance. They're looking at going, no, it's not insurance. But with that market being shaky.
It's very shaky.
Right now.
Uncoordinated. Lloyd's of London is coming in to do some. That's the only one that's willing to take on any kind of risk. And most of the insurance companies, I was told, I don't have any data for this, but I was told by the planning department that most insurance companies are doing $165 to $180 per square foot for rebuilding estimates. And on Kauai, it's more like 400 a square foot. So there's no way to make up that difference. It's pretty sad, pretty grim.
When we talked the last time, we're still waiting on FEMA's report on staffing levels, kind of the baseline. Still, I think this is still needed for us as a state to kind of baseline where we are with staffing and emergency and then the qualifications. Because this will be part of our strategic plan, too, the conversations that we had with elected officials. How much do you want to invest in emergency management? This past session, they cut 9 positions from FEMA. They cut 9 civil service positions. Of the 3 that I have in hazard mitigation, they cut 2 of them. So, not impacting the current employees that I have because we're using exempt positions. Cut the hazard mitigation. They cut the siren modernization. So 9 positions they cut from us. And I want to be able to have those conversations with them from kind of an expert panel going, here's what we think. Me going in and just going, hey, you got to keep my hazard mitigation person. We're going to do that, but I think it's backing up with HACEM folks going, hey, here's what the baseline should be. You should have key hazard mitigation. Because every dollar we spend, we save 12 on the back. So that should be part of our overall strategy, really pushing hard in the mitigation. I don't know how we get into this. So something we'll talk to Darryl about.
Will you send us talking points also then? I mean, if you want us to support this, we also need talking points so we all have the same message going out.
This was the same one that we talked about last meeting, looking for feedback into positions, but we lost. So pick it back up in the committee with the subcommittee, or take it in the direction.
No, what I'd like to do is say something to pick it back up.
Okay, and did I share with you the qualifications I wrote for the county of Honolulu? Did I share that with you? Okay, I can send you what I sent, but they used for.
Yeah, I did want to just, because we'll follow up on every county is talking about evacuation routes. As FEMA leverages that platform, we had a meeting with Everbridge, and I know everybody, you guys use Everbridge. Yeah, are you guys on Everbridge?
Sitting down.
You guys know. We talked Everbridge. They were talking here. If we come in, we probably could save money if we did a state Everbridge. So we're still having those conversations on what that looks like. But as far as the genesis evacuation, if we did a state purchase into this and say, okay, every county does what they need to do. So I don't know if you guys want to explore that as far as
We had a demo for the Maui County, and it looked interesting. Some AI driven, lots of pre-programming. You guys gonna have to have your own subject matter experts determine your high risk areas and gotta help it think. We wanted to kind of see how your first couple months goes, hear it directly from you folks.
Yeah, I mean, in concept, talking to other people who experienced it, all over with like try to live through them and exercise on it, get some gaps in it, we'll figure out here. So I hope that we'll overcome it all and be able to provide better information on it.
so we just that may well be the guinea pigs.
Yeah, we'll take the ball for it.
Then the thing is, with the attorney in the room, the safe. Anything we do got to be competitively procured. So we're real careful that the specs cannot just favor one vendor. Should we want to go down that road?
Yeah, but procurement guys give me school.
That's okay. Or his proclamation. Just kidding.
Yeah, so we'll circle back around. From IMA, appreciate efforts, never ending. So we'll just continue to make progress every day. Don gets beat up every day. I just realized, Kelsey, you too. So they're moving the ball
You
forward.
look good.
And circle back around with the strategic. We want to go for
I was wondering where you're at with becoming accredited as an emergency management program. So the EMAP journey, that's still something happening? Or
So I talked to the EMAP folks, and we're looking across the board on what, really, they're the only ones out there that are accredited.
yeah,
It's the only program that does it.
yeah.
So we're trying to figure out if that's worth the money that we spend. Because I did have a conversation with Vice Speaker Young, and what I told her is if I had to spend the money, I would rather spend it on an individual getting more training and coming back. Because when we look at the EMAP, it's pretty much they come in and they go through paperwork and see if everything's legal. I would rather spend, if I had a choice, spend the money on training, on sending somebody to maybe peers, and elevating the education level and experience of our folks. I did submit a memo to the EMAP folks. We were granted partial or something, whatever you call it, just before the wildfires. We were gonna finish it that summer of 23. We had 11 shortcomings that we could address and get fully accredited. We kicked the can down the road and said we don't have the bandwidth because of after August. So we kick the can down the road. What I did request to them is relook at R11, give us a relook, and then look at the additional 9 that would bring us up to today's standards. So they added a couple more standards. So we're in a conversation with them, but again, it's money. Vice Speaker put in a bill and she said, hey, accredit it. I said, okay, but you're gonna give me money or is it an unfunded mandate to us?
So
If we turn around and we tell the counties, hey, get accredited, what's backing that up? There's money associated with it.
So in full disclosure, I have been an EMAP assessor over the last, say, 10 years. And that's not a paid thing. I go and they send me and I assess other jurisdiction, ability to be accredited. So I think the program has a lot of value because it puts you through a process that forces you to look internally and see where your own gaps are. So the program itself, it is valuable. As to the cost, I don't know. Maybe it does cost too much. It reminds me of the CEM. People want to be, certified as a CEM, but then you have to do it every year and it costs a lot of money. So, I never valued that one. But the EMAP, I was just reading an article the other day, and it mentioned in the article Hawaii, which is, by the way, not accredited, and not an accredited program. I thought, well, there's value in it. It makes you, it does raise your standards. I think that article I read, I'm doing research because I'm writing a textbook chapter on crisis communication, and that's where I read an article about Hawaii. So I encourage you to really continue to think about it. Programs that are accredited, I don't know, they do seem to be a little bit more together.
Yeah. So we have the binder from 2022, 2020.
You're so close. Close. You're conditionally certified. You're so close.
So we'll see what the committee says. Any questions?
Please move Daryl to say.
Oh. Email reached out. I never got back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you want to go?
I'll think about
Never underestimate traffic, right?
Yeah, so I just want to thank everybody for the participation. Truly, just like my predecessor, I think that most everything we do is county led. In support of each of the administrators and your mayors, obviously. We will continue to visit your counties and try to talk to the chiefs of police, fire chiefs, your mayors. We will, of course, visit the military forces that we have there. That's really going to be the initial response of to your EOC to try to get that be able to anticipate what things are and then marshal those forces forward. And you can see at the national level, there's a lot of change. The presidential administration is causing a lot of change. We talked a lot about it here. Within the Department of Defense, it's causing a lot of change also. We don't know exactly which direction we're going to be heading. The Army on their side. And, obviously, we don't want to see any reduction in our military footprint. We just got through the legislative session, as we've been talking about. There's been some wins and some losses. We're going to do a comprehensive there's an AR. Find out, what we could have done better, maybe at the beginning of the legislative session, or really where we should engage more. Things that have me concerned is there's a lot of calls that come in about silent. So you either have a siren and it doesn't work, you can't hear it, you're too far away, or you don't have a siren, you should have one. And they contact their elected officials' office, and then they, of course, call us or call James, right? And so to see a reduction in the siren maintenance program, office those positions, it's illogical. But I want to be able to put that together so we can engage more fully with our elected officials in the next section. And there has been some change too, and things like that. As he has had some meetings with the Madam Vice Speaker, so have I. There are some expectations from our department. So we want to be responsive to what their questions are. That we think will make us more successful as we start to pursue. What's most concerning, and James covered it rather well, is this idea that FEMA is going to try to pull back a little bit on what is a terrorist. And I think it's a derivative of what the President of the United States is saying about states taking over greater responsibility of their territories or their states. And that's going to have to be the problem. Sort of talk about with regards to the types of funding that we're going to be able to access within the states. The MDF at 5 mil may not be sufficient for a major disaster. And as we all know, a lot of this happens in the legislature not in session at the time. So in order for them to even try to go, we're talking a long period. So if that remains constant for the next 4 years of this presidency, or the 2 years of the Republicans being in charge of both the Senate and the House, then we're going to have access to greater funding. And that's what we're going to have. But of course, after we will look at, as James and you folks build out a strategic plan, the greater DOD, we're doing a strategic plan also. Fill in a lot of the blanks. We have the lines of effort. We got to have the intermediate objective and timelines so that we can get there, so it's complementary. And I talked a little bit about the physical guard exercise. I think that's a good focal point. I know we talked about evacuation, so we may want to center the physical guard exercise more on what is the intent or the greatest need for evacuation. It may not be a hurricane-like scenario, it might be more of a tsunami-like scenario, where it's easy to and possibly behave or flooding, and the things that you eventually experience, you want to build that into the physical exercise. So we're not just doing one type of disaster. But we have like 2 years to develop that, and I want to make sure that the buy-in, if you have some need you want to get after, that it's built into it, so we get it all the way up to the national level. That's basically all I have. You normally see Mallory sitting here, although he's not the deputy director, he will stand in my stead when I'm out of state. He's in Singapore. I'm kidding. Yeah. Think of anything. Questions? Yes.
Thank you.
We're looking at August.
Mona, it says here you're out in June or July? Is that
Oh,
accurate?
yeah, I don't know what to do about that. Do you guys?
Probably not go. It's the best answer.
I'll give them that.
Just keep coming.